Wonderful.
Let's go! Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The Thursday edition of the Rob Brown Show starts now. It's the Fan Upstate. The happiest of Thursday morning. It is Thursday, right? You're giving me a stank face.
No,
Make sure I got my days right.
No, you're just doing something. And I was just like, I'm not going to point it out on the air, okay?
Well, yeah, don't worry. It's just going to be, mildly anxiety triggering until 16 minutes.
Volume level was causing some problems.
Gotcha. I'm just being a loud butthole is what you're saying.
No, I'm just trying to help you. Team.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in.
There you go. I could turn it up really loud.
The Rob Brown Show is on your radio.
As we've learned during my breathing problems.
It's the Fan Upstate. Great to have you all on a very busy Thursday morning, the busiest day of the week each and every single week. We have got coming up today at 8 a.m. the lovely Lulu Kesson, who will come by to talk South Carolina Gamecock athletics with us and enjoy it because you probably got 2 weeks of baseball left, and then it's just off season football the rest of the year. The Gamecocks, of course, hosting the number one team in the country in college baseball this weekend as the LSU Tigers make a trip from down in the bayou up here to lovely South Carolina to take on the Gamecocks. They got the win over Winthrop earlier this week. Interesting stat that I read this morning about South Carolina baseball. 22-0 against quadrant 2, 3, and 4 teams. Yet they are a 500 ball club.
Okay, what's quadrant?
Teams that are effectively teams that are outside of the top 25. Quad stacks are quality of opponent, basically, and they break it down into 4 boxes.
So you believe that everyone knew what that was?
It's a very big basketball March Madness term. Yes, like quad 1 in basketball is a huge thing. It's usually like the defining factor of what an opponent is. So the same is used in baseball. It's basically and effectively a way to break down the toughness of your schedule and to rank your dubs and L's accordingly. So the quad 1 record for South Carolina, the quad 2, 3, and 4 record for the Gamecocks is immaculate. It's just they've lost a bunch of games to teams that are good, is basically what that says. So they get number 1 Louisiana State University this weekend at the crib. And obviously, Paul Mainieri's job, just season 1, Paul Mainieri's job is on the line. Is he going to be let go? Would he not be let go? I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you. The answer for me is if it wasn't for a $5 million buyout, the answer would be absolutely yes. But it is a $5 million buyout, and that is a large chunk of change to throw at one guy from your athletic department, considering how tight finances are for every college athletic department nowadays. That is something that has got to be addressed. So we're going to talk with Lulu Kesson about that coming up at 8 a.m. Last week, when Lulu joined us on the radio program, I asked her, do you think Paul Mainieri is done? And her answer was effectively that. Without a $5 million payout, yes. With the $5 million separation fee, that's probably a little bit less likely. A week later, a home series loss later, and now with the number 1 team in the country coming to pile on, potentially. We'll see if Lulu Kesson has changed her mind. At 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to swing by for a few minutes. Last night, the NFL dropped its entire schedule for the season over the course of the day today. We will take a look at and break down the Panthers' schedule. Over the course of the day today, we will take a look at and break down the divisional schedule for the NFC South. Over the course of the day, we will take a look at some of the highlight and lowlight games on the schedule for the 2025 National Football League season. And at 8:40, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast is going to pull up. We'll take a look at the Panther schedule with Rashad, get his knee-jerk reaction. This is the third consecutive season. The third consecutive season where the Panthers will start their season on the road. And not only are you starting on the road, but you are starting on the road against a team that a lot of people are very interested in this year. That, of course, are the butthole of America Jaguars. They'll be the Panthers at Jacksonville to open up the season, taking on the newest Jag, Travis Hunter, along with former Clemson quarterback Cade Klubnik and their new head coach.
No.
Not Cade Klubnik, Trevor Lawrence. Those are different people. Former Clemson quarterback Trevor Lawrence, current quarterback Cade Klubnik is a guy that we talked about yesterday on the radio program. And almost as if Lonzo and I are influencers, yesterday evening, I was scrolling some of the college football news and information websites on the old interwebs. And Clemson was a major discussion yesterday. A lot of folks talking about Los Tigres yesterday. So we'll pick up where we left off with yesterday's conversation about where we expect the Tigers to be. I saw a few win-loss total projections, predictions, and prognostications for this football team to the point that I started kind of putting them together. The average win-loss projection for Clemson this year, based on the sites I was looking at last night, it looks like the average win-loss projection for Clemson is 9.5. I saw a couple of they could be undefeateds. I saw those sites were usually bordered with an orange banner, but I saw a couple of they could be undefeateds. I saw a few 11-1s. I saw a handful of 10-2s, a handful of 9-3s, and a couple of 8-4s. I don't think 8-4. I think this team on talent alone is 9-3. Just on talent and schedule alone, this team is 9-3. Now, how many can they add on to that 9? We will talk about later on today. I gave you some thoughts yesterday on what it will take for Cade Klubnik to have a year and find his way to the Heisman Trophy celebration. We did the same with Lenora Sellers in South Carolina. We will follow up on that win-loss projection, and we'll ask Lou Kesson about it at 8 a.m. when she stops by. But Carolina Panthers' third season in a row where they will start the season week 1 on the road down at Jacksonville. They have one divisional game until the end of September, and then they have a stretch of 6 divisional games, I believe in 8 games, to end the year, including 4 of their last 5 are divisional games. So this is kind of an interesting schedule set up with most of the divisional games for the Cats taking place late in the season. Why? Well, you're going to have obviously a pretty good indication of your pecking order and where you stand in the league at large. And on top of that, when you get to that divisional stretch down the end of the schedule, you will have a pretty good idea of what needs to be done if you are going to be a contender in the NFC South. We will also take a look at the divisional odds for the Carolina Panthers. Have they changed at all since that schedule dropped last night? We'll tell you that and take a look at those a little bit later on in the show. At 9 o'clock, the hating-ass one himself, Mario Herron from the BetMGM network, is going to pull up. Mario is my go-to NBA guy. The Dubs eliminated last night. The Timberwolves take out the Warriors in a gentleman's sweep 4-1, just like I told you, and won some money last night. Because the minute Steph Curry went down with the injury, it was no.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yes, you
Injury.
did. Stop.
No, for the injury.
Stop lying.
I don't want. I'm not lying. I don't want anyone injured. Okay, I'd rather see the best of both teams and them still lose. But yeah, I apologize for that.
The audacity.
Flinch.
The audacity. Lonzo was so geeked up to hit Steph and Dre with a ha-ha that he hit him on the injury news. Rough. No Steph Curry, no chance. Said that the minute that man left, game 2. The news was Steph could possibly be available for game 6. I said that morning there will be no game 6. They are not going to be able to take this series to a game 6 without Steph Curry. Put money down on the Wolves in 5 at like plus 225 and made a little mucho dinero last night off of that bet. Steph and the gang headed to Cancun. When did that joke start? When did the Cancun joke start? I think Shaq did it a couple of years ago, right?
Yeah, it was either Shaq or Barkley. It started on that show for sure.
It had to have. That is 1,000% an Inside the NBA on TNT joke. And for the record, we all love it. It's very funny. It's very funny. So Steph, Draymond, and it is one thing when you really like a player, and then that player turns out to kind of be a b-hole away from sports, right? Like you kind of have to rectify your love of the player and separate that from the fact that you just found out that guy sucks as a person. Like that's a tough spot to find yourself in. It is entirely different when you really like a player and then that player just completely lets you down as a player. What the hell is Jimmy Buckets, man? What is Jimmy Buckets? How is it 2 games in a row without Steph? 2 games in a row where Jimmy Buckets had an opportunity to make himself a Golden State icon. 2 games in a row where Jimmy Buckets had an opportunity to become the Warrior. This is the reason they got the guy. To be everything that Steph Curry wasn't in terms of a score, right? Steph's a 3-point ace, an assist guy, a guy who's shockingly going to get you like a dozen rebounds a night, but he's not a guy who's really going to attack and threaten the cup. Let's go get Jimmy Buckets. Draymond ain't that guy. We all know the guy Draymond is and what his role is. We don't really have that guy coming off the bench that we can say, you're the power forward. Look at me. You're the slasher now. We don't really have that guy. So let's go get Jimmy Butler up out of Miami. He can be that guy. They go get that guy, and for whatever reason, over the past 2 games with no Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler became not that guy. He just became a guy, just some guy. It was sad. It was pathetic. It was sad. So we're going to talk about that series. Also won a bunch of money last night by taking the Boston Celtics to win that game. That was this series is over next game. The series is over in 6. Back at Madison Square Garden, it's going to be loud. It's going to be obnoxious. You know what last night was? Last night for Beantown was a win one for the Gipper game.
That was a pretty big win, though.
It was a big win.
I mean, they won by a lot.
They did win by a lot. Derek White did Derek White stuff. Jaylen Brown did Jaylen Brown stuff. Derek White and Jaylen Brown doing Derek White and Jaylen Brown stuff allowed other guys to step up and do some stuff. Like there was a lot to be impressed by Boston last night. But I genuinely feel like that game was 1,000% driven by let's go win one for the Gipper. In this case, the Gipper being Jason Tatum in his shredded Achilles tendon that is going to not just keep him out for the rest of keep him out for the rest of this year, as if it's going to be longer than one more game. But not just keep him out for this year, maybe keep Jason Tatum off the basketball court next season as well. And we're going to talk about that and what that does for this team. Because I got to tell you, I think the team that was on the verge of being the next great NBA dynasty, I think it gets blown up this offseason. We'll talk about that. But I genuinely feel like last night's game, Boston won it for Jason Tatum. Won it on emotion. Won it for Jay Tate. And I think going back to New York City, that emotion can only carry you so far. And while White and Brown were great, now we've seen it. Now we've seen what they look like sans Jay Tate. Even with Porzingis in there, I don't think Boston's got it. So coming up at 9 o'clock, we'll talk to Hayton S. Mario about that and a whole lot more. But we are going to be slammed up busy today when we come back here in just a moment from now. The Panthers' schedule did get dropped last night, along with the other 31 teams in the National Football League. Carolina is going to have to be hot up out the gate if they want a chance at the division. Now, the divisional games don't come later. But Carolina, despite having the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL, according to opponent win percentage from last year, they are going to have to hit the ground running. Because if they're not hot early, the middle of the season could get rough. Let's talk about that schedule and what it looks like when we come back. Rob Alonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. If somebody else does do the thing and one of us takes the boot, my fear is it's going to be you because you were logged in first.
I'm guessing it will be order of login.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
it would kick the first off.
I think we'll go in reverse.
You think it would kick the most recent login off?
I think so. Yes. Here's the thing. I don't believe it. I was here. I witnessed it, and I still don't. I don't believe that's what it was. I don't know if you knew this, but you and I are the StreamYard experts in this building.
Oh, God.
No. Does any of that make sense?
No.
It doesn't make sense. I think someone did something.
No, but my favorite thing about the internet is that very little does. Cool. Didn't need that anyway.
The fact that there are still people logging in is interesting.
Yes, it is.
Although I can check and see if someone's still streaming. Pretty easy to do, actually. And they are also in a break, but they are still streaming. So it must stink if you're flipping around trying to listen to someone who's not in commercials and everyone and all of us basically go to break at the same time. Never really thought about that till now, but
The NFL schedule release last night. All 32 teams found out when, where, and who they will be playing when the regular season kicks off. The preseason kicks off August 8th, which means we are, just over 2.5 months away from the start of football, kind of, sort of, a little bit, maybe, mostly. I'm a preseason guy. I'm all in. I'll watch every preseason snap.
The start of football happens when they all make it to camp.
I'll take camp.
Yeah.
Because by the time camp kicks off here in, honestly, less weeks than you'd expect, still too many weeks away.
It's in July, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we are halfway to June now. So
by the time camp cooks off, I am in such withdrawal from football that, I'm reading camp reports for sure. So when preseason gets here, even if it is fake football, as I've said before, preseason is for two people, the junkies and the nerds. That's who's checked in.
Preseason has never been more important than it is now. And going forward, it's going to be even more important as they have less preseason games. They have less time to look at players who might make a team.
Yep.
And so preseason is very important right now.
Yep, I completely agree. Let's take a look at the schedule. It shapes up this way. Week 1 opening on the road at Jacksonville. Week 2 opening on the road at Arizona. Back-to-back road trips for Carolina to open the season. And I think, Lonzo, that both of these games are wildly important because this year is a tone year for me. Not just these two games as a tone for the season, but this season as a tone for the next 3 or 4 years of Carolina football. It feels like, as we have pointed out, it may be because the division is bad, but this team has an inside track to win the division. And being a divisional winner, being a team that's going to the playoffs, being a team that is going to host a playoff game at least in one round, that's the type of attention that gets the rest of the league to take you seriously. That's the type of attention that gets free agents to take you seriously. That's the type of attention that can do nothing but good for you. And these are two teams that should be, I'm going to say, beatable. Jacksonville's going to be interesting. Liam Cohen, first year, you get him in his very first game. Travis Hunter's going to be out there, first year, first game. This is absolutely a rookie that is going to be a starter. This is absolutely a rookie that's going to be an impact player. You get to be the first team that gets to figure out how to deal with him. But
and really quick, I mean, that's going to be a game that a lot of eyes are going to be on. Normally wouldn't, because two teams that most people are picking to not be very good. But because of Travis Hunter, to see if he plays both ways.
100%. He won't. Or he will, but it'll be like 10, 12 snaps on defense time.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to watching that.
So you get week 1 at Jacksonville. You get week 2 at Kyler Murray. By the way,
here's what I want to see. I want to see the side-by-side quarterback comparisons. And please let them stand next to each other on the field. That's just me. But I mean, we have it on good authority that Kyler Murray is taller than what people say.
Hey, he's 6'2".
Yeah.
I've never wanted a pregame handshake more.
Oh, me too.
These two games are important to me because both of these two games are not just that they are a pair of teams that I think are both considered kind of in the same realm as Carolina right now. These are two teams that are considered close to maybe turning the corner. Let's got to go right. You got a new head coach in Jacksonville, a guy that is thought. Hey, the view on Liam Cohen is very similar to the view on Dave Canales when he showed up at Carolina. Can he do it? I don't know. What I do know is that his time in Tampa looked real good. He worked with Baker Mayfield. Dave Canales got Baker Mayfield paid. Liam Cohen stepped in after Canales came to Carolina. He got Baker Mayfield to keep putting up the numbers that got him paid. He was the OC when Tampa won the division last year. Again, not a good division. Won it with single-digit wins, but won the division nonetheless. So there's a lot of excitement about Liam Cohen. This is, I've said a number of times, I think, a make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. A year to prove. Not necessarily that, like, he's going to take the Jacksonville Jaguars from perhaps the most disappointing season in their history last year. They were projected to win that division last year. Instead, they were fighting just not to be last in it. And to me, it feels like this is a year, maybe not for Trev to take the Jags to the playoffs or not, but just to show to his first-year head coach, I'm your guy, I'm not your guy. And they said, at least it felt to me like they said, we're going to give you the opportunity, which means we got to give you weapons. Let's go get the best athlete in this draft. Let's go get the best wide receiver in this draft. Let's go get that guy that is going to be the biggest weapon we can get you in Travis Hunter. We'll make a trade move to go grab the cat, and we'll see what happens. So it feels to me like they are all in on giving TL16 his opportunity this year to prove that he's the guy or that he's not the guy, which means you are going to likely get a Jacksonville Jaguar offense that nobody else has gotten yet. So it's going to be kind of unique and interesting. Week 2 against Arizona, another team that people feel like should be on the verge of turning the corner. Should be on the verge of turning the corner. Should be a team that's getting closer to where they want to be. There was obviously a lot of drama there. Arizona started or had like a 4 or 5 game win streak in the middle of last year, but then they turned around and dropped 5 of the last 7. Granted, most of those were to playoff teams, but they did have a loss to Carolina down the stretch last year. Overtime loss, but an overtime loss to Carolina down the stretch. A lot of people looking at Arizona as if they should be an improved team that is trending upwards as well. So this is kind of an interesting little triangle of squads to start the season. If you can grab both of those, or at least go 1-1 in those two, September 21st, opening division game. September 21st at the Crib, taking on the Falcons. You want to have a little momentum coming into that game. You want to have vibes coming into that game because that is another team that a lot of people are high on this year. That is a team that a lot of people think is got an opportunity. They move on from Kirk Cousins. Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the week 1 starter for this team. Not all, but a lot of Arizona fans are very excited, think that Michael Penix Jr. could be the guy that they've been waiting for at QB1. If Atlanta develops any sort of rhythm in their opening 2 contests, Atlanta's got Tampa in a divisional opener and then at Minnesota. Minnesota's going to beat Atlanta in week 2. That's just a better football team. So they'll be coming off an L. Carolina could be 0-2, 1-1, 2-0 at that point. If you got a little momentum and you can get that divisional win out of the gate, especially if Tampa gets Atlanta, right? Because then you can start Atlanta 0-2 in the division. You got to be feeling real good at that spot. September 28th at New England. So 3 of your first 4 games on the road. October 5th, back home against the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. God, I hate that song so much. Back home for Miami, October 5th. A team I don't know what the hell to make out of them. I don't know what to make out of this team. They do have the most accurate quarterback in the National Football League, Tua Tagovailoa. But, of course, this year, I think, is the year, much like Trevor, this year is the year that I think Tua really kind of has to establish himself as either a guy who can do it or a guy who can't. We know Tyreek Hill was unhappy at the end of the season, the way that it shaped up. We know that Miami last year was, I would argue, the biggest disappointment in the National Football League. This was a team a lot of people thought were going to be ready to contend for a Super Bowl. Instead, they were not very good. It is also a year that I think a lot of people, myself included, were all in on Mike McDaniel as a head coach. Like not as a guy, but like as the head coach, as potentially the guy who is going to take over as the offensive genius in the National Football League. And last year that offense had stretches where it just looked inept. Now, a lot of injuries, a lot of question marks about Tua and his head injuries. Like, there was just a lot going on. This is a rebound year for Miami. You got to go to Miami, but it is early in the year. Will they have developed anything? We will see. After Miami, you stay at home for your first back-to-back homer. Dallas coming to town for the second time in 2 years.
All right, so far, which is the game that you're thinking about going to? Would it be this game against Dallas?
I think it's Atlanta, right? I think it's the home opener against Atlanta. If you're talking about now, are you talking about as
Well,
like?
you definitely want to go see the Saints because you usually do that.
Oh, I go every year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I mean, the team that's coming in, the team that's coming in that has the best chance of taking over the stadium, unfortunately,
Dallas.
is Dallas.
But that's true of every game Dallas plays. That's true of every road game for Dallas.
I'd be curious because I only know a couple of Dallas people, and they're not bad people. And I've heard that Dallas fans are obnoxious and ridiculous. It might be a game to go to find out if it's real. I mean, to be out there amongst them and find out if they're punks or not.
I've been to Dallas games. They are. I've been to like 5 Dallas Cowboys games. They are.
You and I judge people differently, so I mean, I'd just be curious about what I think about it.
The Cowboys game will be an interesting one, especially if and again all of Dallas, all of football for Dallas is going to be determined on can CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens get along. If those two guys can get along, that offense could be exceptional. Like I know we all like to poo-poo on Dak Prescott. Let's not sit here and pretend that Dak Prescott doesn't finish every year with really good numbers.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good.
Playoffs, that's a totally different story. But I mean, regular season, he's pretty good.
He's got now 2 big-time outside wide receiver threats. I don't know if they can coexist. And even if they can't, I don't know that week 6 is going to be the boiling point, if they will have hit the boiling point there. If Dallas has both of their wide receivers on the same page, if Pickens is good with CeeDee being number 1 and not him, if he's good within the system, that could be a nightmare game for the Carolina Panthers.
If you are a fan of a team like Dallas or any other team that's playing Carolina this year, are you penciling it in as a win? I mean, do you automatically believe you're going to beat the Panthers? Have they improved enough to where people can't do that?
I think we'll know week 1. I mean, I'd like to think so based on the conclusion of last year. But I also can't say that is for certain, right? Like, I think there are question marks still about this team. We're going to talk with Rashad Beard about this later on in the radio program. But I think you look at what they did down the stretch last year. They beat Arizona. They had a game against Dallas that Dak and the boys ran away from late. They went to Philly, lost by 6. Like late in the season when Philly was hitting their stride. Went to Philly and lost by 6. So I'd like to think so. After Dallas, they've got one more homer in a 3-game set at the crib. That is going to be the New York Jets. Justin Fields and the gang coming to town on October 19th. When we come back, the back half of the schedule. The Carolina Panthers do have a couple of primetime games, including a Monday nighter against the 49ers. They've got the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen, and the boys coming to town. We'll tell you how the second half of the schedule sets up and give you some early predictions and prognostications when we come back. Rob Alonzo and you on the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. A lot of y'all on the stream, very quiet in the chat this AM. What's everybody doing? I just said that, announcer guy.
joint pain. QC Kinetics uses regenerative cell therapy to restore the tissue in your achy joints and make them achy no longer, using biologic growth factors to regenerate that connective tissue that prevents joint pain and gives your joints new life. And the best part, no drugs, no surgery, no downtime. It is an all-natural, cellular level option with lasting relief. And the patient satisfaction are nothing shy of astonishing. Summer is almost here, so do everything you want to do without being slowed down by joint pain. Call QC Kinetics now and learn about these cutting-edge treatments and live your best life. Call QC Kinetics at 864-448-3772. 864-448-3772 in Greenville and in Asheville. 864-448-3772. It's QC Kinetics.
They say all roads lead to Rome, but Hub City, all roads lead to Fifth Third Park. Watch the Hub City Sparkbirds take on the Rome Emperors May 20th through 25th. Get your tickets and join the baseball feast. Tickets on sale at hubcitysparkburgers.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
From the Ingalls Market Studio, the band.
Upstate, 97.7 FM Greenville, 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
The second half of the Panther schedule, primarily the back half of the Panther schedule, gets very interesting. We left off with the 3-game slate at the crib, Miami, Dallas, and the Jets. That takes you through the middle of October. Let's pick up from there. October 26th, Josh Allen and the Bills come to town. That's a measuring stick game. That game is going to be a where are we game. Now, we may have a pretty good indication based on the record at that point. If Carolina's sitting in that Buffalo game with a winning record, which is very possible, and also it's very possible that they aren't. But they are sitting with a winning record after that 3-game home set. When the Bills come to town, I think that Bills game becomes a measuring stick game. The Bills are going to be, and again, a lot of moves left to be made. A lot of signings, a lot of cuts, some possible trades, etc. Could come down the pipe between here and there. But the Bills are, as they have the last couple of years, going to have one of the 3 shortest odds in the AFC to make the Super Bowl. Again, this team is still very good. Measuring stick game. Week 9 on the road at Lambeau. Green Bay host Carolina. Again, another measuring stick game. I am not sailing with Green Bay the way a lot of people are. I think it's going to be a good team, but I've seen a lot of people who are already wanting to write Green Bay into the NFC Championship game. I'm not there yet. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to be plus 500 by a few games. They're not going to win the North. I think Detroit's winning the North again. But I think it is a good game, and I think this game could be detrimental to Carolina based on where we are with the defensive backfield. This is a part of the season where J.C. Horn could be unavailable. He's usually dealing with injuries around this time. Has he not? Am I wrong?
I know. Let's be a little more positive. It's also November in Green Bay. Might be a little snowy, might be a little messy.
Could be a gross weather game. You're not wrong. This is a challenging game on the road. And then we hit the stretch. November 9th, back home, the New Orleans Saints. This team's going to stink. This should be an auto win for Carolina. That's how bad this team's going to be this year. That being said.
Who's the quarterback at that point?
Great question. Great question. I don't know the answer. I got to ask the
Talking
exact.
about for the Saints.
No,
not for
I
the
know who
Patriots.
you're talking about. I know who the quarterback's going to be
I was
for
clarifying
Carolina.
for everybody else.
My special baby boy, BY, will still be the quarterback as he will be balling out by that point. I don't know. My prediction is Spencer Rattler is going to start week 1, and then after that, I got no clue. There's a lot outside of New Orleans. I'm not talking about Saints people. I'm talking about like the national coverers. There's a lot of people who have said their opinion on Tyler Shuck has grown quite a bit in the last couple of weeks.
I've seen things where Tyler Shuck is starting the season. If not, and then it's Spencer Rattler at this point. If things are going bad for the Saints, then you get a rookie quarterback in there, which could be good for the Panthers.
It could be very good for the Panthers. It should be a win. But again, this is the first divisional game. You have a divisional game in week 3. You do not have another divisional game until week 10. That is November 9th when the Saints come to town. You turn around to run it back. Another divisional game, this time at Atlanta on November 16th. You will be visiting the Falcons. Again, same situation, same conversation we had earlier. I do not know what the Falcons are going to be. Bijan Robinson is a dog. We know that. That guy's an absolute weapon. But will they be better on the outside? Will it be the year Kyle Pitts finally gets it right? Will it be another wasted year for him? I don't know what Atlanta's going to be yet. We're going to have some talks about the Falcons moving forward. Good offensive line, good run game. Is Michael Penix Jr. going to be the guy? Will the athleticism and will the knee hold up for Michael Penix Jr., right? Like, that's part of the reason that Atlanta rolled out Kirk Cousins for as long as they did last year, was let's give Michael Penix Jr. as much time to get that knee right as he can. Will it still be good by November 26th? We'll talk about that a little bit more with the Falcons. We'll do a season preview, a schedule preview for the Falcons later in the show, too. November 24th, Monday Night Football. Are you ready for some football? On the road at San Francisco.
I don't know. I mean, was last year an anomaly for the 49ers?
I don't think so.
They were not that good.
I don't think so. They were not that good, and they were not that good with Deebo Samuel. This year, they're going to be trying it without Deebo Samuel. And how many times did we say last year, even when the team is bad, Deebo Samuel is the engine that makes that offense run? Even when he doesn't have the ball in his hand, Deebo Samuel is the engine that makes that offense run. They do not have that guy. I still believe, and I've gotten some pushback against this, and I've gotten a bunch of guys who agree with me. I think Brock Purdy's a very average quarterback. I just think Brock Purdy has been surrounded with the best set of skill position players in the NFL, with maybe only Minnesota able to compete for that title. I don't think the 49ers are going to be that good this year. In fact, I'm probably going to take an under win total bet on the Niners this year. November 30th, you will come back home. Another left coast team. This time it's at the bank. The LA Rams come to town. I'm actually kind of high on LA this year. I think the Rams are going to be a squad this year. I think Sean McVay is going to be a dude on a bit of a mission this year. This is also a playoff team. So I would not chalk this one up as a W just yet. Now, if you're coming off of a win against San Francisco, you're probably riding pretty high right now, because that is likely back-to-back wins, with the Falcons thrown in the middle, could be on a 3-game win streak, could be on a 2-game loss streak at that point. You've got the bye week in week 14. That is December 7th, so kind of a late bye for the Carolina Panthers in week 14. Then December 14th, coming off the bye on the road at New Orleans. December 21st, back home against the Buccaneers. Back-to-back divisional games. You have your Week 17 final non-divisional game at home against the Seahawks. And then for the second year in a row, you will wrap up the season on the road at Tampa Bay for what could be, and I'm glad that they put this game last, because it very well could be a game for the divisional crown. That game could be. Not saying it will. Got to see what Atlanta's got to say about it. But that game very well could be for the division. It could also be that game plus whatever Atlanta's going to be doing at that point. That ends up determining who ends up winning that division. In fact, let me see who Atlanta has in Week 18. I would not be shocked to see Atlanta with New Orleans. I don't have their schedule. That's exactly who it is. Week 18, Atlanta, New Orleans, and then Carolina at Tampa Bay. That could be a pair of games where any combination of wins and losses between any two teams could decide who is going to win that division down the stretch. I'm intrigued by that. So that's the schedule as it shapes up. By the way, week 17 and 18 for all 32 teams are all possible flex games. So those games are TBD. All games, with the exception of 2 Saturday games, will be played on Sunday. There is no Thursday night football. There is no Monday night football. Every game in week 18 will be played on Sunday, with the exception of 2 Saturday nighters. Now, I'm kind of intrigued by that. Do they move, if with week 18 being primarily made up of divisional matchups, do they pick like a division for Saturday night, right? Like, we're going to play all 4 teams from the NFC North. If there is a division, which the NFC South may very well may be, if there is a division where all 4 teams or 3 of the 4 teams are eligible to win the division in week 18, is there a possibility that division is solely featured on Saturday, week 18?
It's got to be according to playoff eligibility, doesn't it? If you're on the edge of making the playoffs, that's a more interesting game.
I mean, it is, and obviously, like, the NFL makes its decisions, as it should, no harm, no foul. The NFL makes all its scheduling decisions in events like this based on what's going to make the most compelling television. And to me, it would feel like if I've got 4 teams, or 3 out of 4 teams, all eligible to win a division, I would play both of those games on the same night. Now, I'd like them played at the same time, right? Like, I think, this is why I've said before, I think week 18 on Sunday, we should have 16 games on Sunday, and they should all kick off at 4:25. It should be a week 18 football fiesta. All 32 teams, 16 games, all being played at the same time on Sunday. That way, either nobody's score watching or everybody's score watching. Nobody knows what their fate is going into the last game, or everybody does. That's how it should be. Panthers tied for the 5th easiest schedule in the league. Their opponents had a 45.7% win percentage in 2024. As mentioned, the Vegas over-under total for wins for Carolina this year is set at 6.5, but there is a little bit of news. Last I checked, in fact, I'm going to go check it again while I'm saying this. Last I checked, the juice was to the over. That means that it is more likely that they go over than under. So it's like last time I checked, and again, I'm going to go look at it right now just because I'm curious. Let me see if I can find our division projections. The NFC South finishing projection. The Falcons actually have the shortest odds to win the division at plus 160. The Bucs at plus 170. The Panthers at plus 290. The New Orleans Saints at plus 600. Not great, Bob. Not great. The over-under total, and I'm looking for the exact numbers right now, but the last that I looked at it was Panthers were at 6.5, and the juice was to the over. That is to say, the folks in Vegas believe it is more likely that Carolina will get to the over than the under in that division. So, a lot going on for you there. As far as highlights and takeaways, I will go with this. This is first and foremost that Monday Night Football matchup against the 49ers. That comes in week 12. That is the first primetime game for the Panthers in 2 seasons. In fact, the Panthers were the only team in the NFL without a primetime game this year. This year, there are 3 of them. The Browns do not have a primetime game this year, which makes sense. The NFL wants to keep them out of the spotlight. Shockingly, the Titans do not have a primetime game this year, despite having the number 1 overall draft selection in Cam Ward. No primetime game for the Tennessee Titans. Lonzo, can you guess who the only other team in the NFL without a primetime game is? Don't think too hard. I'm saying it. Correct.
Wow.
It is the New Orleans Saints. Carolina does get a primetime this year.
I'm completely shocked that the Panthers got a primetime game.
I'm not. And I'm not, especially because the NFL loves to put former players of teams up against their team in the prime time.
Right.
You got Christian McCaffrey.
All right, and I love McCaffrey, but what are the chances he's playing in that game?
Not great, Bob.
Yeah.
Not great, Bob. The injury bug has officially caught up with McCaffrey. But we'll see. We'll see. Maybe last year wasn't it wasn't an anomaly. It happens every year. Jacksonville, number 1, opening, week 1, I should say, not number 1, week 1. Interesting. Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall draft pick in 2021. Bryce Young, number 1 overall draft pick in 2023. There's also one more storyline in this game. Travis Etienne and Trevor Etienne in this game. So you got the brothers at running back. You have got the debut of 2 top 10 picks at wide receiver. Travis Hunter for Jacksonville. And, of course, Teteroa McMillan for Carolina going up against each other. So I said earlier, like, 2 teams that are in a very similar position, right? Like, the only difference is that Dave Canales is going into year 2, whereas Liam Cohen's going into year 1. But 2 relatively new head coaches, 1 brand new, 1 relatively new. 2 quarterbacks that I think are very much in a prove-it year kind of position. 2 rookie wide receivers with a lot of expectations on them in year 1. 2 brothers at running back. Like, there's a lot here to be intrigued by. The first 4 games, 3 on the road, Carolina string of poor starts in the last couple of years. I think that is a key part of the season. But I would also say weeks 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is very interesting as well. You've got Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets, Bills, Packers. The only potential breath of fresh air in that stretch is the Jets. And let's be real. With Justin Fields at the helm, who knows if the Jets are going to be bad again this year? Who knows if the Jets are going to be bad this year? If you can get through those games, let's say 3-2, I think 4-1 is probably unlikely. If you can come out of that stretch at 3-2, you can't be worse than 2-3. But if you can come out of that stretch at 3-2, I think we say this is a playoff team. If you can come, which means win the division, just so we're clear. There's no wild card coming out of the NFC South. But if you can go through that stretch 3-2, I think you've got an opportunity to win that division. The other stretch of games that is very interesting, you've got Tampa Bay twice in the final 3 weeks. You go 2-0 against the Bucs at that spot, 8-9's the worst, 9-8's on the table at that point. That division's going to be settled in the final 3 weeks. We will see. 5th easiest schedule in the NFL. We just broke it down for you. We'll ask Rashad Beard about it in a couple of hours from the Panther Nation podcast. When he swings by, we'll ask Lonzo, hey, Lonzo, what's happening in the world of sports with this Sports Flash?
Why, I'm glad you asked, Rob. Even without Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics have extended the series with a 127-102 win over the New York Knicks at home. Derek White scored 34 and Jaylen Brown had 26, while Peyton Pritchard added 27 off the bench. The Knicks lead the series 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow. Minnesota Timberwolves eliminated the Golden State Warriors with a 121-110 victory last night. Julius Randle had 29 with 8 boards, and Anthony Edwards added 22 with a dozen assists, and the Binky goes home. The Toronto Maple Leafs face elimination in Game 6 after the Florida Panthers claimed Game 5 with a 6-1 win. All 6 goals were scored by different Panthers, while Sergei Bobrovsky scored all but one of the 32 shots he faced, stopped all of one. Yeah, because if he scored all of that's live. Game 6 is tomorrow night. Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show is next. Okay. Call home and tell mama. I'll be here, Zach. You'll be there, Zach. We'll have words.
These polymers are as flexible as batch J3. Researcher Laurie is stretched thin. Do you have the vulcanization analytics from B66? Ranger, these rubber scores from last week.
She needs to hire a math professional so she can bounce back into her old self.
You need to.
Indeed you do. Our matching platform lets you spend less time searching and more time connecting with candidates. Redeem your $75 credit at Indeed.com/credit. Terms and conditions apply.
Still getting around to that fix on your car? You got this. On eBay, you'll find millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. Doesn't matter if it's a major engine repair or your first time swapping your windshield wipers. eBay has that part you need, ready to click perfectly into place for changes big and small. Loud or quiet, find all the parts you need at prices you'll love, guaranteed to fit every time. But you already know that. eBay, things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's BetMGM Tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan. BetMGM Tonight is the red zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more with real-time, relevant sports wagertainment tonight at 7. BetMGM Tonight, exclusively on the Fan. And on the Odyssey app. Wire to wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. Turn on, leave on.
Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com joining us here on the Fan Upstate. Look at South Carolina and Texas in particular in your SEC matchups where I think adjustments throughout the game where you come out and you feel like you have a solid game plan.
Two to three L's for the Ravens this year. That's a heck of a prediction. 15-2, 14-3. I mean, I don't think you're wrong.
I don't know, Steven. I'm going to go a positive 75%. If I move too fast or I talk too loud, if I move too fast, I have trouble breathing. I had trouble with the stairs again this morning. And that's the main problem with it. But if I'm getting a little more projection now without coughing, but there's still a tickle there. I'm going to make a mistake and laugh out loud or something, and I'll cough for 25 minutes straight. And I forgot to take my medicine this morning. But I wasn't about to turn around and go back when I realized it.
How did I not know that U.S. agent is Kurt Russell's kid?
Really?
I did not know that.
Dude.
Until right now.
Look at them side by side, especially if you look at.
I see it now. Somebody just posted pictures of it, and I'm like, holy crap.
And they just did a last year they did the monster thing together as they played father and son.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the Great One, Lonzo, and you. The Hub City Spartanburger text line is open. 844-326-36 844 FANFONE. If you'd like to text the show, if you'd like to call the show, you use the same number, 844-326-3663 is the number. If you would like to tweet the program, you can do it at The Rob Brown Show. That is my handle, at Lonzo on Word. If you'd like to give Lonzo 280 characters of wisdom, you can do so at Lonzo on Word.
Do you actually type so much that you notice the limit?
What I appreciate is that they have the little circle down at the bottom that like gradually fills up as you fill up the characters. And I know when it turns red, now it's time to start editing. You know, I gotta be like myself in real life. Brevity is key.
Okay. Yeah.
You can shoot Lonzo a message at Lonzo on Word. I am at The Rob Brown Show. That is for all of my social media handles. If you'd like to follow me there, you are welcomed and encouraged to do so. You can get it, everybody up in here at The Fan Upstate. And don't forget, our stream is live at The Fan Upstate on Facebook, at The Fan Upstate on YouTube, at The Fan Upstate on Twitter, or The Rob Brown Show on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. If you'd like to get at us in that direction, you are welcomed and encouraged to do so. It is 7:02 in the AM portion of the day, which means it is time for us to tell you about everything going on in the world of sports, or at least the things going on in the world of sports that you will be talking about when you get to the office this morning. When you get settled in, when you respond to those passive-aggressive emails that you don't want to respond to, but you have to because the whole gotta be able to pay my bills thing you got going on, whatever. I'm thinking 11, 12, maybe 13 minutes of good, solid work, and then you stand up. You step away from the desk. You tell that one nosy Nancy that gives you the side eye like, is that guy taking a break already? Shut up, Nancy. I got to go to the bathroom. And then you don't. You just sneak on down to the hallway, head to the break room, head to the water cooler, talk to your friends. You're going to be talking about this stuff.
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
even before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It is the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office this AM and start talking sports. When you do, this is what you'll be talking about. Let's dive in with item number 1. 127-102, the Boston Celtics are still alive after a Game 5 victory at the house over the New York Knicks. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be. An emotional night, a win one for the Gipper night as Jason Tatum's season is over with a ruptured Achilles. 34 from Derek White on 9 of 16 from the floor, 7 of 13 from behind the arc. Jaylen Brown went 9 of 17 from the floor, 3 of 5 behind the shooting range stripe. He had 26 points on the night. You also got 17 off the bench from Peyton Pritchard. This was a predictable game for me. This was a game where the boys were going to be thinking about their boy Jay Tate, who is done for the year. The reality of the situation is, now the Knicks have seen what this team is when you have White, Brown, and Pritchard leading the charge. I do not suspect that Boston is going to survive Game 6 against the Knicks, now facing elimination. Over in the other NBA game last night, the Golden State Warriors were ultimately eliminated from playoff contention by the Minnesota Timberwolves, a 121-110 victory for the Twolves last night. You got off of 29 points off of Julius Randle, 22 off of Anthony Edwards, also had a dozen dimes in this game, 17 on the inside from Rudy Gobert, who was 8 of 9 from the field. and had a free throw in there to make it to the 17-16 from Mike Conley when it was all said and done. 13 off the bench from Dante DiVincenzo for Golden State. 28 from Brandon Podziemski, 17 from Jimmy Butler on 4 of 11 shooting. This was a legacy series for Jimmy Butler. Unfortunately, it wasn't the part of the legacy that he would have wanted it to be. I thought this was a game. I thought this was a series after Steph Curry went down. Maybe Jimmy Butler can help the Warriors just survive until Steph can go. The thought was Steph would be available for game 6. The question was, can Jimmy Butler do enough to keep them alive until game 6? If he could have pushed it for one more game, made this 3-2 last night, you get Steph back, winning 2 in a row is not improbable for Golden State. But for whatever reason, Jimmy Butler, with 42 minutes played, attempted the same number of field goals as Draymond Green did. Draymond was 4 of 11, 1 of 6 behind the arc for 10 points. I don't know why Draymond's lifting that many threes in a game. Not my business. Steve Kerr is taking some heat this morning because Steve Kerr said, yep, we would have had a chance for a championship if Steph Curry would have stayed healthy. And apparently that was a controversial thing to say. Why are you laughing?
Because that's funny. No, you wouldn't have had a chance of a championship if Steph Curry was playing.
I disagree.
Were they undefeated in the series when he was there?
No.
Okay.
But they weren't totally defeated as they were without him.
Okay.
Without Steph Curry, they didn't win a game. Mm-hmm. With Steph Curry, last night, if they have Steph Curry, I'll say this. Last night, if they have Steph Curry, I think they win that basketball game. Honestly. I think the Timberwolves who pulled away late, well, that's not really true. Golden State actually outscored them by 10. I think with Steph Curry in that game, they win that game. We are looking at a 3-2 series. Honestly, I don't know that they don't win the last game with Steph Curry.
Yeah. He wasn't there. They didn't win. Go home.
Well, they are.
You too, Steve. Go home.
They are.
Go home.
But I also don't think that...
yell at the wall. Go home, yell at the wall.
I don't think that Steve Kerr is incorrect in his philosophy
Steph
here. Either
go
way...
home and place his beaky in a place of honor.
Doesn't matter.
Little holder.
You think he has a dedicated binky holder?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, he's rich. I mean, that's what those rich people do. At least I've heard tell.
Noted. Over to the NHL playoffs, the Toronto Maple Leafs are now on the brink of elimination and might as well just go ahead and wrap it up and take it back to the crib. The Panthers win 6-1 last night. At the end of this game, the Florida Panthers had 13 different skaters that put a point on the board. They had 6 different goal scorers, and they had 5 players with an assist. Sam Reinhart had 2 of them last night. Sergei Bobrovsky, who has had a couple of questionable performances in this postseason, last night looked like Sergei Bobrovsky again. He faced 32 shots last night from the Toronto Maple Leafs. He stopped all but one of them. Bob is back for Florida. And if Bob is back, because, hey, goaltending wins you playoff games. That is why Carolina is where they are, because Freddie Anderson has been a stud, and Florida is getting better out of Sergei Bobrovsky the last couple of games. Look, Verhaeghe did not have a point in this game. Matthew Tkachuk had 1 assist in this game last night. Alexander Barkov had no goals, no assists. It was everybody else that was carrying the load for Florida. They had 3 goals out of defensemen last night. They had 2 assists out of defensemen last night. And Bob was a brick wall between the pipes. Florida just decimates the Toronto Maple Leafs 6-1. They are now up in the series 3-2, 1 more in Toronto before they take it back to Florida if necessary for a game 7. After what I saw last night, I would not be shocked for Florida to put it away. That was a back-breaking dub on behalf of the Panthers. 1-0, the Edmonton Oilers have eliminated the Vegas Golden Knights, the gentleman's sweep, 4-1 in that series. The one goal scored by Kasperi Kapanen. He gets the only goal of the game. It was the only goal that mattered. Stuart Skinner faced 24 shots, stopped all of that. Aiden Hill was actually remarkable on goal last night. 31 saves against 32 shots, including 3 power plays. That was a night. You know, we've talked about this, like one of my frustrations right now is that the Atlanta Braves keep getting performances out of starting pitchers that are more than good enough to win games, and they keep losing those games because they won't score runs. That for Vegas last night. Their goalkeeper did more than enough to win them that game, but they just could not find the net last night. Let's move on to item numero dos. The NFL released its schedules last night for all 32 teams. That includes, obviously, as they are one of the NFL's 32 teams, the Carolina Panthers. We now know the lineup for Carolina's opponents. They will open the season September 7th on the road at Jacksonville. It is back-to-back roadies to start the season for the Cats, as they will be at Arizona in Week 2. Week 3, September 21st, they return home to take on Atlanta before it's on the road to Foxborough to take on Mike Vrabel's New England Patriots. 3 out of the first 4 on the road for Carolina. They'll come back for a pair against Miami and Dallas on the 5th and 12th of October. On the road at the Jets on the 19th, the 26th. Josh Allen and the Bills come a-calling. November 2nd, it's back on an airplane, this time back to balmy Green Bay to take on the Packers. Divisional game number 2 does not happen until Week 10, November 9th, at home against the New Orleans Saints. The next week, divisional game number 3 on the road at Atlanta. The first primetime game in 2 seasons for the Panthers is Week 12, November 24th, on the road at San Francisco. They'll come back to the crib Week 13, November 30th, to host the LA Rams. Week 14, December 7th, is the bye. 3 out of the final 4 games of the year for the Panthers are divisional games. That includes December 14th at New Orleans. A week later, December 21st, at home against Tampa. You have got the Week 17 TBD against Seattle at the crib. And then Week 18 on the road at Tampa one more time again. If Carolina is healthy, if they can win the war of attrition, they have an opportunity to win 3 divisional games in the final 4 weeks. We will see if they are contenders. Rashad Beard will join us in about an hour and 20 minutes from now. We'll get his reaction to the schedule breakdown after the release last night. Let's get to item number 3. I have gone back and forth on what to include on item number 3. I could put the Braves game here last night as they give up another late lead, this time to the Washington Nationals. The Braves spent exactly 24 hours at 500 before they gave one back and now are back to 1 game under 500 at this point. Here's what I'm going to go with instead. Ross Dellinger has released a very interesting article, and we are going to talk about this when we come back. He is down at Amelia Island, Florida, for the ACC spring meetings. He reported, and I went and checked it out, Representative Brendan Boyle is active online. Representative Brendan Boyle was part of the congressional committee that met regarding NIL regulations a few days ago. Representative Brendan Boyle sent out a tweet on Twitter that said, and I quote, "The next time the Big Ten or SEC wants to meet with me about NIL, they need to be prepared to first explain to me how they justify trying to rig the college football playoffs. #greed. Why did Brendan Boyle tweet this out? Well, apparently, the fight over automatic qualifiers in an expanded college football playoff is a little more heated than we thought that it was. Apparently, according to Ross Dellinger, there are now some folks that are being very openly hostile towards the current 4-4-2-2-1 setup. The setup where the SEC and the Big Ten would get 4 AQs, the ACC and the Big 12 would get 2. There would be 1 left open for the highest ranked group of 6, and then just 3 at-large bids available. And now members of Congress are getting involved. So when we come back, I'm going to tell you why Brendan Boyle kind of has a point. Rob Brown, Lonzo, the Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate. The bullpen was awful last night, Jacob. More importantly, I do not understand Snit's decision-making for the guys that he uses out of the pen. You're not going with matchups that I like. You're not going with the hot hand. How do you not give Blewett a chance when he has been easily the best guy out of the pen for the last 3 weeks? Like, it is once again, it is on the players, because at the end of the day, you're a Major League Baseball player. I expect you to be able to go out there and throw, get us out of this inning, right? Get us out of this inning. But I'm also going to say, to some degree, it is a manager's job, it is a coach's job to set his guys up for success. And I just don't think Snitker did that last night or has been doing it over the course of this season. Like, I'm tired, man. But maybe that's just me. All right, quick 30-second break, guys. We will be right back. Please don't go anywhere. Rob Brown Show on your radio. It is the Fan of State. Rob Brown, the great one, Alonzo, and you. The fight amongst everyone in and some people outside of college football has begun. The college football commissioners, according to Ross Dellinger of Yahoo Sports, have been meeting separately and aside from the college football playoff committee. Obviously, whatever format is approved will be approved by the college football playoff committee. However, the conferences will have to agree with it. And so there will be a little leverage from the committee. There will be a little leverage from the conferences themselves, as they are the ones that are providing the teams that play in this event annually. But apparently, according to Ross Dellinger, it's getting a little heated. And the topic that has become the source of contention is the concept of the automatic qualifier. On Twitter, Ross Dellinger, a couple of days ago, sent out a tweet. The tweet said, there is growing B1G SEC support for a 16-team bracket, most notably a 4 SEC, 4 B1G, 2 ACC, 2 Big 12, 1 group of 6, and 3 at-large automatic qualifier bracket with season-ending interleague play in games. 3rd place v 6th place, 4th place versus 5th place to determine amongst the SEC and the B1G who their second group of automatic qualifiers would be. The winner of the 3rd v 6th place game, the winner of the 4th v 5th place game in both conferences would join the top 2 teams in the conference who play for the SEC and B1G title game, assuming those games still take place. I imagine that they will. I don't know that they will have the pomp and circumstance that they have as years gone by. We'll talk about that later. But he sent out that tweet, and Brandon Boyle, who is a congressman from Pennsylvania, replied, quote, tweeted it, which means he retweeted it, but then added his own commentary as a secondary tweet. Said, quote, the next time the Big Ten or SEC wants to meet with me about NIL, they need to be prepared to first explain to me how they justify trying to rig the CFP, #greed. And obviously there was quite the reaction from social media to that tweet from Representative Brendan Boyle. Ross Dellinger said that of the litany of what he called, and I quote, issues festering within the college sports industry, end quote, which of course includes the House settlement, the antitrust settlement. It includes a presidential commission potentially being launched by Donald Trump. It includes a battle over NCAA governance, amongst others. He says the fight over the future of the college football postseason, the industry's most valuable asset, may be the one that garners the most attention and gets the nastiest. Dellinger writes on yahoosports.com, quote, negotiations among the Power 4 conference commissioners, they have started meeting separately from other CFP leaders, have produced disagreement. Discord lingers over the amount of automatic qualifiers designated from each conference. In fact, from ACC spring meetings, conference executives discuss postseason format with their athletic directors and their coaches, sharing with them that the latest negotiations between the Big 12, ACC, Big 10, and SEC, and though most have declined to reveal specifics, they did share their opinion on a 16-team playoff proposal from the SEC and Big Ten that will award each of the the top 2 conferences as twice as many automatic qualifiers as the Big 12 and the ACC. The SEC and the Big Ten would get 4. The Big 12 and the ACC would get 2. Dellinger quoted one unnamed athletic director as saying, quote, no one likes it. He then quoted NC State head coach Dave Doran as saying, quote, we are fighting for our spots. We believe we deserve 3 automatic qualifiers as a minimum.
Do you though? Do you really? Do you? I think you think more highly of your conference than most people.
Yeah,
do.
and they would say the same about you. They would say the same about the Big Ten. It's not like the Big Ten, as we have talked about over and over, has 3 to 4 good teams in it.
They also have more teams than those other conferences. So
So what?
I
So my question becomes, why does that mean that you are guaranteed playoff spots?
because they have more money.
No, that's why you are getting more playoff spots. Why do you think you should be guaranteed playoff spots? So that because you have more money, you can then get more money?
And obviously, there's better football in the Big Ten and the SEC than there is in other conferences. I mean, there just is.
No one is disagreeing. But the argument is that how in the hell can we ever expect to catch up if you guys are guaranteeing yourself at least twice as much money out of the postseason as we can get?
You can't. And you know what? Sucks for those guys.
Okay, cool. So just bleep everybody else. Let's just do the Big Ten and the SEC.
I believe it's been, several years where have said that's where it's going anyway. So in order for it to get there, you got to do stuff like this to get it there, right?
So that we are clear. Where I think it is going does not mean that's where I want it to go.
Okay.
This
All
is
right.
not me saying,
All right, so
let's make an effort.
how many teams does the ACC deserve?
I think at the end of the year, we should take a look at the best teams in America and pick the 16. Nobody deserves a damn thing. That's my point, right? Like in no other system, in no other sport, do we have this setup where anybody's guaranteed a damn thing. Like the frustration level for me here is, it is not just the guarantee that teams from these conferences, 4 of them from the top 2, 2 of them from the next 2, and everybody else gets 1 spot. Guaranteed. Everybody else is fighting for, there are less spots to be fought over from everybody else, which, by the way, includes the SEC and the Big Ten. There are less spots to be fought over by everybody else than the Big Ten is just guaranteed. I don't think there has been a year yet where I've thought the 4th best team in the Big Ten was a legitimate national championship contender. Yet, they're just getting a bid. I think the fight here doesn't come from the fact that these conferences refuse to admit the SEC and the Big Ten are better. I think the argument is there is no way for us to catch up if you guys are guaranteed to receive twice the revenue we make. It is 1,000% the rich get richer, and there is no fighting back from the poor. There is no way for the poor to fight back, because even if 6 consecutive 16-team playoffs are won by the ACC, they still only get 2 spots.
Wow, the ACC is poor. I wasn't aware of that.
In comparison to the Big Ten and the amount of revenue coming from the college football playoffs? Yes, that is correct. I think acknowledgement is important here.
Yes, I only have $500 million, but that guy's got $1 billion, so I'm poor in comparison.
In terms of, okay, we are more arguing that guy's got $1 billion and we got 100,000. Yeah, that's poor by comparison. Correct. And
no, we're not, because the ACC makes millions of dollars, so we're not arguing 100,000. We're not doing that.
We are making the argument here that when it comes in the ability to keep up with LSU, who built a locker room, state of the art, and then tore it down a year later to build a bigger one. Nobody in the ACC can do that. Nobody else in the ACC can do that. LSU can do that. The SEC schools can do that. The Big Ten schools can do that. So when these schools have the opportunity to bring in twice as much CFP money, because they're just guaranteed 4 spots. This is one of the spots that I will lean on an old cliche. All that should matter is what happens on the field. When it comes to football, when it comes to the championship, all that should matter is what happens on the field. And under this system, with 4 AQs going to 2 conferences, and the ACC and the Big 12 getting 2, it doesn't matter what happens on the field. It just doesn't matter. Your conference is going to bring in, unless the ACC sneaks a third team in there, unless the Big 12 sneaks the third team in there. And even then, even if those two conferences both were to get a third team in, they have 3 teams that are considered championship caliber. If both of them get 3 teams in, still neither one of them is guaranteed to make anything close to what the SEC and the Big Ten make. How are they supposed to keep
So
up?
you're saying the third team in the ACC would be better than the fourth team in the Big Ten or the SEC, so therefore they should get 3 teams.
No, I'm saying if it happens. What I'm saying is your 4th best team has never been one of the best 16 teams. It's just not.
Has the third best team in the ACC ever been the best
It
team?
wouldn't matter if they are. That's the point. It doesn't matter if they are. The third best team in the ACC could be 11-1 and get locked out because 2 12-0 teams go.
No way the third best team in the ACC
It's
is
Lonzo.
11-1.
You're sticking on the audacity of hypotheticals. The hypotheticals are what matter here. You are guaranteed the payday of 4. No matter how terrible your conference is, you're guaranteed the payout of 4. The ACC is guaranteed the payout of half of that.
Okay.
So how do they keep up?
So again, the teams that make the most money, the conferences that make the most money are going to make more money. I don't have a problem with that.
Cool. Then go ahead and say, all that matters is you. Say it, because that's what that thought process is. All that matters is the Big Ten and the SEC. Nobody else matters. So suck it, Clemson. You don't matter. Okay, that's not a good example. Suck it, Florida State. You don't matter.
Okay, that's all that
Suck
matters.
it, Colorado.
There,
you don't matter.
There, you don't matter.
Okay.
I mean, I don't get what me saying it means anything. I'm just looking at all the things that you're explaining, and I don't have a problem with it.
Because you're the rich guy. Because you're the billionaire. It is similar to when you send
I also know that the third best team in the ACC is not going to beat the 4th best team in the SEC or the ACC.
They can't ever be there.
Why?
Because you have the resources.
Oh, come on.
Let me ask you this question.
Come on.
Let me ask you this question.
I don't even think that matters anymore as far as what your facility looks like. They all look good. It's coming down to NIL now. So yes, it absolutely is.
No, it's not.
It's who can pay the most money to the players.
And how would they get that money?
Well, not from the schools.
Yes.
No.
That's what the house settlement is, Lonzo.
The NIL, no, the schools don't pay the players because that would make them employees. You have argued many times that the money comes from boosters.
Okay.
It doesn't come from the schools.
And when the house settlement finishes here in a week, then there will be a $22 million revenue sharing deal where the money will come from the schools. Those schools will have way an easier time to come up with the $22 million to give to the players than schools in the ACC will.
Hey, some companies are better than others. That's just how it works. Some companies make more money than other companies do. This is a business. The 2 conferences that make the most money should get the most teams in.
Okay, so
they absolutely should.
So shut everybody else down.
They're not being shut down. They're not being. They're getting. Their ACC will get 2. You said, and what? The Big 12 will get 2. That's not being shut down. You still have a foot in the door. If your team is dominant, Clemson's won a national championship before.
Here's the problem.
It's not going to matter about the money. If your team's the best on the field, they're going to win.
First off, there is nothing in life where it doesn't matter about the money is true. You know that. I know that. We all know that. There's nothing in life where it's not about the money is true. Not any sport. Not anything. Number 2, you are looking at this only through the prism of football. This is not a football story. This is a business story. This is a story about the finances of a multi-billion-dollar industry where the AQs are saying these 2 conferences get twice as much as these over here. Even though we're all the same here, we get twice as much. Well, if one group has twice as much money, they have twice as much resources. If they have twice as much resources...
The ACC and the Big 12 were to combine, then they would be equal with the Big 10 and the SEC.
Great.
And then there would no longer be an argument.
Call your commission, say combine them. But you know what's not happened? Literally that. So until that happens, and we're all in a big conference, and we all have a mega conference here, and even then, they're not going to accept everybody. So basically, everybody else can bleep off with your little pittance of a paycheck.
Yeah.
and the Big Ten and the SEC get to rule the landscape and, exist.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, I'm glad you only care about the Big Ten. I prefer college football being
I've
good.
mentioned the SEC a bunch too, so obviously I care about Big Ten and the SEC.
Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Hey, guess where my two favorite teams play? In the Big Ten and the SEC.
That's the point. It's a selfish stance.
So?
And I respect you owning it.
So?
I respect you owning the selfish stance.
What's wrong with that? I don't get your stance. I don't. I don't understand. If they want more at the table, they should provide. They get more teams in their conference.
All right, give me 30 seconds. We will address y'all's comments when we come back here in just a minute. Don't go anywhere.
I brought us back so I could ask you, are you done seething?
No,
Okay.
no.
So the seething will continue.
I'm a seether. I was thinking about something during the break, and I've been sitting here saying over and over and over, oh, well, there's 3 at-large spots. 4 for the SEC, 4 for the Big Ten, 2 for the ACC, 2 for the Big 12, 1 for the group of 6. That leaves 3 spots in a 16-team field.
Yeah, but it's only 2, right? Because Notre Dame will get 1.
And that's exactly what I was about to say. That presumes that Notre Dame does not finish inside the top 16, in which case they would take one of those 3 spots. So really what we are saying is the conferences get this many, And then the entire rest of the college football landscape is fighting for 2 spots effectively. Because, and this is not to say, oh, Notre Dame is going to be top 16 every year. But we all know that Notre Dame usually gets some favorable spots, right? Like they get the benefit of the doubt, whether it's because of the brand or because of the value that they hold or because of the television audience they have or whatever.
Do that without being in a conference? That doesn't make sense.
Because of their television rights deal, which pays them SEC and Big Ten money. That is literally the center of this conversation. The center of this conversation has not a gosh darned thing to do about football. It is about football, but the center of this conversation has everything to do with the fact that everything in college football is now about the money. It's always been about the money, but now that is the A1 unquestionable, without a doubt priority for everybody. It used to be, it's all about the money. We want to have good football too. Now it's just about the money. And so when the default turns into a system where the rich are not just getting richer, but are guaranteed to consistently get richer, and there is no way to push back against that, it creates a system where the poor have 2 options. And I'm going to get wildly dramatic here, both because I think it's true and also because of my own entertainment value.
Yeah, because you haven't gotten dramatic at all today yet. So.
No, everything I've said is spot on the level.
But not dramatic.
I'm going to get uber dramatic here. Ultra dramatic. I'm going to raise the dramatic.
Should I sit back in case there's swings coming? I mean,
no, not that dramatic.
Okay, all right.
Not violently dramatic.
Trying to gauge the level of over dramatic.
There are 2 options when you are in a situation like this. If you are in the, I'm even going to go so far is to start using trigger words here.
For who?
Not me.
Okay. All right.
There are 2 options when the system is set up in a way that guarantees that the rich get richer and the poor can't. There are 2 options. Option number 1 is to just quit. And option number 2 is revolution. That's it. That's the option.
All right. You are getting over dramatic because there are no poor here. There are no poor. There are no middle class here.
There's no middle class?
Everybody's rich. There's rich and then there's richer. There is no poor in this scenario. There's no, name me a poor school in this scenario.
Anybody in the ACC when it comes to college
They're
football
not
playoff
poor.
revenue income.
They are not poor.
The finances at play here are not your and my household budget. We are talking about the ability to compete. We are talking about the ability to stay relevant, right? Colorado did not hire and retain Deion Sanders to be good at football. If they are, great. That's a nice little addition. Colorado brought in Deion Sanders. Why? Get attention, sell merch. That's the reason he's there. PR, attention, merch, to get more money in the coffers because you can't compete. Is Colorado a poor school? Is Colorado a team hurting for money? They had to bring in Deion to survive. Scratch that. To try to make themselves relevant in any sort of meaningful way.
Thank you for amending that because they didn't need to bring him in to survive. They wanted to go up another level competitive-wise, and so they brought in someone who has attention, but also turns out, at least so far, has been a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
We'll find out how he does this year
What's their conference record?
without his son and everybody
What's
else.
their conference record? What's their record against top 25
What was
teams?
their record before
It's
he came
losing
there?
by-
What was his record before he came there?
Not much worse, if we're being honest.
No, he did twice as better
Yeah,
than what was there
congrats,
before
you're
that.
beating South Dakota State.
They have doubled their win total.
Yes, because
by bringing in a better coach.
Because now they beat North Dakota. Oh, and by the way, they didn't double their win total because they brought in a better coach. They doubled their win total because they brought in Travis Hunter. That's why.
Who brought in that player?
Oh, sure. He came because of Deion.
The coach brought in that player.
But the reality here, it's just the reality, even if you don't want to accept it. And this is absolutely the argument. This is the argument I expect from the rich. Oh, no. You guys aren't poor. You're fine. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You're fine. Everything's great for you. You yell from the 14th story of your ivory tower. to those down on the street trying to just make it. The reality is that college football is all about thriving in the dollar sign department right now. And when you say that, and here's the thing, if everybody's on level footing, then you guys should be fine with not having 4 automatic qualifiers because you're just gonna earn it anyway.
Fix it.
Cool. You ready? No AQs. Top 16 teams. There you go. Fixed.
Okay.
There you go.
Who decides that?
You just asked me to fix it. You didn't ask me who's the decision maker. You asked me to fix it,
the committee,
and I just fixed
the
it.
committee decides that. So
why do you think that?
In that top 16, how many SEC and Big Ten teams were in there last year?
Doesn't matter. How many will be in this year?
I'm just curious.
I don't care.
Probably the same amount, even more.
Great. Congratulations.
It's gonna be the same thing, and you'll find another flaw in it. I mean, there is no perfect way, and this works just as well as any other thing. And it just seems like people who are pro ACC and other conferences are the ones who have a problem with this. And I get it. It's just not a good argument. And in the end, this is probably going to happen.
Oh, it's going to happen. So I should just shut up, lay back, and take it?
No, I mean, you can complain and talk about it, which is what you're supposed to do. That's your job. In this case, though, you're wrong. You're just wrong.
To a Big Ten guy, I'm absolutely wrong. To an SEC guy, I'm absolutely wrong. You're absolutely right. To everybody that is gifted the benefit of the system, I'm absolutely wrong.
Gifted the benefit. Okay.
You are guaranteed twice as... Lonzo, if you and I both went to a new radio station and we got the exact same job, we were doing the exact same thing, right? And they said, we're going to pay Rob Brown twice as much as we're going to pay Lonzo.
Not a good analogy.
How is it not a good analogy?
Not a good
How
analogy.
is it not a good analogy?
Because that may be the case right now. That's why it's not a good analogy.
We are doing different jobs right now. Are we not? Like, we're doing the same job right now, but we do different jobs right now. So it doesn't, and first off, probably not, but like, whatever. If you and I got hired to, outside of this business, you and I both say in 2 weeks, screw radio, we're done. We're both going to go work at a batting cage because that sounds awesome.
If we were equally talented, I would have a problem with it, but we're not. I mean, there's a reason why you've been hired to be hosts all over the place. Okay. You make more money than me. Good for you. I mean, good for you. I'm proud for you. I wish you made more money.
So do I.
I do.
So do I.
I don't have a problem with you making more money because we're not doing the same job. Our jobs overlap some, but we're not doing the same job.
Well, when it comes to take it back to football, when it comes to college football, is it not supposed to be? Do we not? Let me rephrase that. It's not supposed to be. Who cares? If we are talking about football the way that we want to love football, should be level playing field, right? It just should be a level playing field. Now, we all know it's not because we know that some schools have 1,000 alumni a year and some have 250. Obviously, numbers are way higher. I'm just making them up on the fly here. Alabama's always going to have a bigger booster fan base willing to give more money. They just are. That is part of the reason that the House settlement comes with revenue sharing, but that is the reason it comes with a revenue sharing cap of $22 million. And it comes with the option to pay all $22 million or zero of the $22 million as a recruiting tool. A team like Ohio State is going to have no problem coming up with the $22 million. None at all. But a team like Wake Forest will. A team like Wake Forest is going to have a hard time coming up with $22 million to revenue share across. So when you have a system in which this team, without a dollar coming from the CFP, is going to be fine hitting the $22 million, and this school over here that is going to be fighting for its life to pay a couple of that $22 million in order to get the best players that they can get, when there is this stack of resources that comes from a product, the college football playoff, that is supposed to thrive on the best teams in the country competing. And this product is created and generated by everyone in college football. The resources it provides to everyone in college football should be level across the board. As Mario Cristobal said, and I want to find the exact quote that he gave. He said, dadgummit, where's the quote? Here, I lost it. But Mario Cristobal effectively said, paraphrasing, but very close. The problem with this system is that it is set up for giving, whereas football is supposed to be about earning. That is the issue at heart here. This is a system that just gives the college football conferences that have all the power already, it just gives them twice the resources that anybody else gets. It just gives it to them. It has nothing to do with your football. It does not matter how good or bad your product is. It just gives you twice as much money. If every college football playoff spot is worth $20 million, the Big Ten is guaranteed 40, the ACC is guaranteed 20. Maybe they can earn an extra 30. Maybe they can get or an extra 10 and get 30. Maybe. But even then, there are 2 spots. And by the way, you won't hear Notre Dame say a word about it because Notre Dame makes SEC Big Ten money from NBC, and all they got to do is be in the top 16, and they get the same number of college football playoff dollars per school. They get the same number. So, actually, they get more because they don't have to give it back to the conference to split up. They just get to keep every dollar of it. So Notre Dame's not going to say a word about it. If the system is set up to just give some conferences that already have more resources, the majority of the resources, they get 8 of 6, half of the money is going to 2 conferences. The rest of all of college football has to split everything else up. How do they keep up? How are they going to keep up? When we know that college football teams and athletic departments, and all of this, by the way, all this money's got to be used Title IX wise, et cetera. We already know they operate on a shoestring budget. We already know that there are a limited number that even turn a profit. How are they supposed to keep up? They can't. So the option here is everybody else just shuts up, accepts it, and realizes you'll never have the resources to compete for a championship, or everybody else eventually takes their ball, creates their own thing elsewhere, and we end up with 2 college footballs.
All right, so here's the thing. Let's go back a little bit. Back when the Big Ten only had 10 teams, when the SEC only had so many teams, when there were other conferences, it would be different if this would have happened then, but it didn't. The Big Ten and the SEC saw the future. They created their own future. Other conferences like the ACC did not. They held back. They had a chance to bring in more teams. They did not do that. This is on them. 2 conferences saw the future. They made their future. The other conferences said, no, we're not doing that. And now they're having to deal with the fact that these other conferences are twice as big with twice as much money. That's on those other conferences. Too bad.
Okay. I mean, cool. Like the decisions made by the ACC in 1991. Sorry, Clemson, you don't get to compete anymore. That's what's being said right now. A couple of real quick quotes and
that's not
comments.
What's being said right now? You completely poo-pooed everything I said. If you go back to when all conferences were pretty much equal and had the same amount of teams, the ACC and other conferences could have done the same thing the Big Ten and the SEC did. They did not. So that is their fault because they didn't have the foresight or they drugged their feet. And so now they're having to deal with the repercussions of that. That's on them.
Okay, so
it's not on the Big Ten. It's not on the SEC.
So
I don't
them,
see
right?
why you can't see this.
So, no. I see it. I see it. I agree with you.
You're not acknowledging
No,
it.
I am. I am saying because of decisions made in the 90s when that whole thing started.
Right.
Bleep them now.
Well, yeah, there are people there are people who look in the future business-wise and go, okay, if we do this, this will be an eventuality. We're going to push towards that because this will make us more profitable. This will give us more power. Other conferences saw that and said, nah, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
well,
so-
too bad. You got left behind.
Exactly. Bleep them.
You got left behind. That's on
Yep,
you.
You guys don't deserve football because of a decision made by a person you don't know in the 1990s.
Football still exists. And this whole rich-poor thing, it's a horrible analogy. Even the poorest school still has a lot of money.
844-326-3663 is the number. If you've got comments on this, we want to hear them. We got a couple of texts. Keegan said, what does Bill Belichick's girlfriend think about all this? Has anybody checked in with her? Jacob said, all the SEC teams got into the SEC before it was cool. Now it just means more. Okay. With the exception of Texas and Oklahoma, but they paid the money. So exactly, they had the resources to make a move. Other schools don't. That's again, kind of the heart of the conversation. When we come back, Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News will check in. We'll find out her thoughts on this weekend's South Carolina baseball series against LSU and what, if any, postseason hopes they may have. Rashad Beard at 8:40 to talk Panthers, Mario at 9 to talk NBA. Fight Club at 9:20 to talk pro wrestling. All of that after Lonzo delivers a Big Ten caliber sports flash.
Still seething.
A little bit.
Even without Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics have extended the series with a 127-102 win over the New York Knicks at home. Derek White scored 34 and Jaylen Brown had 26, while Peyton Pritchard added 27 off the bench. The Knicks lead the series 3-2 with a Game 6 tomorrow. The other game that happened in the NBA last night, the Minnesota Timberwolves eliminated the Golden State Warriors. Gotta pause. Moment of silence? No. But laughter. With a 121-110 victory last night, Julius Randle had 29 with 8 boards, and Anthony Edwards added 22 with a dozen assists. And now they go home. That's a shame. 500 record for the Atlanta Braves lasted just one day as the Braves blew a late lead and dropped a 5-4 game against Washington. The Braves are 21-22 with one more against the Nationals before a 3-game set at Fenway over the weekend. Hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Show is next, right here on the Fan Upstate. We'll be back. I got to do a thing.
And off we go. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, Rob. The Great One, Lonzo, and you. We have talked NFL schedule release earlier in the show. Broke down our thoughts on the Carolina Panthers schedule, which we found out weeks 1 through 18 last night. Coming up in about 40 minutes from now, Rashad Beard of the Panther Nation podcast will swing by. We will get his thoughts on the schedule as a whole. At 9 o'clock in the morning, we talked some NBA earlier. We'll do it again with Hayton S. Mario Herron from the BetMGM Network. He'll swing by to give us his thoughts on the Pacers eliminating Cleveland. Can Boston find a way without Jason Tatum? How about the Denver Nuggets? Can they get back-to-back to move on, or are the Thunder inevitable? We'll talk about all of that with Mario at 9 o'clock, 9:20. Fight Club with the Great One Lonzo, where we'll talk some professional wrestling because there's a lot going on in the world. Monday Night Raw here in the Ville next Monday night, May 19th. So we'll talk a little bit about that show and what we expect to see at the Well. All of that coming up on the show. But now we take a roadie just on down to Columbia, South Carolina, where we find a young lady who has been covering now for a while the athletic department of the South Carolina Gamecocks. Kind enough to join us every Thursday at 8 a.m. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all say hello to the lovely Lulu Kesson. Good morning, Lulu Kesson. How do you do?
Good morning. I'm good. How are you guys?
Exceptional. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Lulu, I'm going to circle around at the end to talk to you about your Boston Celtics because I don't want to dampen the mood before we even get the interview started. So let us start instead. Well, I'm going to dampen it anyway by bringing up the South Carolina Gamecock baseball team. They've got 3 games left in the regular season at the crib, taking on the number 1 team in America, the LSU Tigers. Last week, I asked you, do you think Paul Mainieri survives another year in Columbia? And if I recall correctly, your answer was $5 million is a lot of money to move on from the guy after one single season. But since then, it has not been great. They allowed another 20-plus run game. Paul Mainieri is now responsible for both of the worst 2 losses of Gamecock baseball in the millennia, I believe. Has your opinion on that changed at all?
I wouldn't necessarily say my opinion has changed on if I actually think that South Carolina will let him go, but I do still, I guess I would say I have a stronger opinion on the fact that I think he should step away. I think that coming back next year after the year that he had, like, at this point in his career would just kind of, I don't want to say selfish, but just because, like, he was hired for this position, Ray Tanner, put him in this position, but man, like, I don't know how you come back next year knowing how just the entire community and, fans, and in an era of NIL, it almost feels like you're doing a disservice to your players, putting them in a position where, I don't want to say they're so hated, because I think hate's a strong word, but where there's so much angst and sort of just no one's happy with the situation. And I can't imagine, like, I've seen so many tweets that are just like, I've given up on the program. And like, I came into this job knowing how historic South Carolina baseball was. And even last year when they weren't amazing, the fan base was still so engaged, and it's just everyone's checked out, no one's interested, and I can't imagine how you go back to that year 2. And so I just feel like obviously it'd be an easier method if Paul were to step away himself, but at this point, I don't know, he's given no indication of doing that.
Yeah, and stepping away, and I guess this is kind of at the heart of it, Lulu Kesson, stepping away means he's probably not getting a $5 million separation, and I don't know about you, $5 million, I don't really care what anybody else thinks for me to get a $5 million paycheck. So I doubt that's the case. And that goes to the question then, if he doesn't, if he says, no, that was not what I'm capable of, I'm better in year 2, let me get my guys in, whatever, That's where I think the conversation turns to with a new athletic director. There's nothing more dangerous to a program, in my opinion, Lulu Kesson, than apathy, when your fans just don't care anymore. And I agree with you. Everything I've seen, everybody I've talked to, it's all about being disconnected, right? It's not I'm mad. Mad means I'm still emotionally invested. Apathetic, I don't care anymore, is where you get into a problem. Even with a $5 million check on the line, would a new AD want to look and say, I cannot afford in year one of this job to allow baseball fans of a program that has been a very proud program for a long time to get apathetic and us be playing in front of an empty Founders next year?
Right, and that's why I feel for Jeremiah Donati, and I know that obviously he's prepared to deal with situations like that, but it's clearly, like, I don't want to say it's unique, but I can imagine not something he expected to deal with in year one, especially as the House settlement stuff is kind of finalizing and everything like that. But I do think that if Mainieri were to stay, there has to be some type of change. Like, I know a lot of people are really unhappy with, I think, like, statistically, every pitcher has taken a step back this year, and that puts questions on Terry Rooney, the pitching coach. Like, I don't think it's obviously just Paul. I think that there is some truth to maybe the recruitment that happened prior to his arrival, and with the portal and sort of a lot of people think that maybe Mark Kingston could have left the program in a little bit better shape roster-wise. Like, there's a ton of layers to this, and that's also why I understand that, like, no decision was going to be made before the end of the season. Like, the people who were trying to start rumors that Mainieri was going to be fired like 3 weeks ago, like, this is a huge financial decision. This is a huge sort of like statement decision for Donati. This isn't something he's just going to make overnight, and there's layers to it. And so if he decides that Mainieri does stay, I do think that there'll be some type of change, whether that's bringing in new assistants or something where the faith is sort of restored.
Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. LSU coming to Founders this weekend. This team's exceptional. This team has great pitching, great hitting, really solid defense. They will kill you on the base pass if you make a single mistake. Does that mentality change if this team gets swept to end the regular season and finishes below 500? They do have to take one to finish 500. If they get swept and finish below 500, or if there is another demo job, if LSU has a 20-run win like Florida and Auburn did a couple of weeks ago, does that change the conversation at all? Or do you think the nail is in the coffin as far as the 2024 season and we're already thinking about what the offseason holds?
I think the nail's already in the coffin. I think that it's so sad, but I don't think anyone would be surprised if they lost by 20 at this point, especially to LSU. I do feel obviously from a human standpoint, I feel for Mainieri that this is the final series. I think originally maybe when he found out that his last weekend would be, coaching against the team that he obviously has a lot of history with, he probably felt a little bit differently than he does now, and that's hard. But at the same time, like, you question a lot coming into the series about South Carolina's ability to kind of do anything well against the number one team. And so I would not be surprised if South Carolina took a game based on the simple fact that they truly kind of have nothing left to lose, or if I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow continue to, for the third series in a row, like, lose a game by 20. So it's going to be interesting. I'm surprised Ethan Petrie came back so soon. His injury was sort of like a 2 to 4 week thing, and he came back after 2 weeks. He could be a draft pick, or probably will be a draft pick this year. Like, doesn't necessarily have anything left to do. I mean, he is close. He's like second for home run list, but at the same time, like, it doesn't seem like that's a record he's been dying to break. So when Ethan Petrie came back for the midweek game, I was sort of like, what are they trying to do here? Are they really trying to finish, 500, or are they just trying to better the program in any way they can before they're ultimately done in Hoover, which is what I think we all assume which will happen.
So the thought of Mainieri up against his old team, a team that he coached up until a couple of years ago, obviously won a College World Series there a number of years ago. To me, the thought was this could be like there could be an emotional performance. Maybe South Carolina snags a game, maybe two if they go out there and kind of win one for the Gipper to get Paul Mainieri a dub for his old team. But I think that only happens if the fellas in the locker room love the guy and want to play for the guy and want to do this for Paul Mainieri. My question mark is, and I don't know if you have any insight into this or not, I'm curious about it. Is there a locker room connection between Paul Mainieri and the club? Because my takeaway has been this team has been trending down, right? Like it's one thing if you're a bad baseball team, but I can tick off week by week. You're getting better here. You're getting better here. This number's better. This metric's better. It's the opposite for South Carolina, which kind of tells me the team's checked out a little bit. Has there been any conversation about the connection between Paul Mainieri and the baseball team? Do the boys have his back? Does he have theirs? Or is this just kind of a broken locker room towards the end of the season?
I know nothing in terms of any actual sources or people that I trust, but I have wondered that because from a sports perspective and in covering, the amount of teams that I have, you have to sort of assume at this point that it's a broken locker room because it seems like, I don't want to say an effort thing, but it does seem like they've mentally completely checked out because statistically, on paper, eye test, these players aren't that bad. So whatever's going on does seem like a bigger issue than a bunch of players at the same time, happen to have really bad consecutive games. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I don't know sort of where their heads are at in terms of Paul. But at the same time, it's hard not to assume that there's something that's driving sort of a lot of the checking out, but also sort of the lack of just good play and lack of motivation.
Lulu Kesson joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So when we look at this season as a whole, and obviously the next time we speak, we will have an idea of what Hoover shapes up to look like. Obviously, we know it's probably not a tournament that South Carolina fans are going to have any sort of energy or electricity for. What do you think is going to be the legacy of the 2024 baseball season? Do you think it is a season that is going to spark change? Do you think that with a new AD, with a first-year head coach, that there will be a major shift in what this program looks like in 2025? Or do you think that it's kind of going to be hey, we just got to let the regime change take place and this is a nasty bump, but a bump in the road?
I feel like I'm more inclined to say the latter, even though I'd obviously think that more fans would, of course, prefer a drastic change that potentially led to a lot more, I guess, guaranteed success than they saw this season. But it is hard in this, Lamont Paris said something that really put something in perspective to me. He was like, you plan a roster for a year at this point because of the transfer portal, because of NIL. When a player commits to you, it almost feels like you get a year. And I'm paraphrasing what he said a little bit, but in any sport, no two seasons are going to be the same. With the transfer portal and NIL money and rev share potentially happening, nothing is ever going to be the same. And I think in this baseball scenario, they're bracing for change regardless, because I do think that when you have a year so bad, I imagine a lot of people are going to leave. And I imagine that a lot of people, maybe, for better or for worse, aren't going to be on the roster next season. And so naturally, South Carolina baseball is going to be so different. I just think obviously the biggest question is who's going to be the one in charge of it all. And I don't know. I know I keep playing the easy way out here, but I would not want to be Jeremiah Donati because that's not an easy situation to deal with.
No, I agree. And one of the things I found interesting the last couple of weeks is how close to the vest everything seems to be played right now. And it may just be because Like there are athletic directors that they don't want to put the script out. In fact, they may not even want to think about making decisions until the season's over. The last thing that you need right now is news coming out that there's major change on the horizon, especially as we mentioned with the portal being a thing now. Guys could already start making their plans to get out and never, you don't give yourself a chance to talk them into staying. That being said, is there anything floating on the wind about a potential exodus of players that maybe expected something different on the way out? You were a destination for incoming players last year. Has there been any talk that there's fear of players maybe deciding to depart the program because it's not what they thought it was going to be?
I don't have specific names, but I think that's the expectation, to be honest. And I also think, like, I don't want to I think I don't want to say it's performative, but like as of late, it seems as though from what I've heard and what I've seen in press conferences and stuff, like Mainieri has been making an effort to talk like, oh, I was just, talking to some 2026 recruits and stuff like that. And it's like, you're just suddenly bringing that up when everyone is questioning if you'll be here for next year. It feels like a lot is going to potentially come out the second the team loses, because I just think that so much has to be going on, and that all feeds into next year. And so everything that's sort of said between now and whenever their season ends, I feel like is probably not an accurate reflection of what next year will be, because changes are going to happen regardless.
Lulu Kesson of the Greenville News covers the South Carolina Athletic Department, talking baseball with us on the show. Real quick, Lulu, what are your expectations for the series against LSU? This is an Omaha favorite. This is a national championship contender. This is the number one team in the country. They've had a couple of dry spells during the season, but by and large, this is the best baseball team in America, in my opinion. What are your expectations for, or what is the best you think Carolina fans can hope for out of this 3-game set this weekend?
I would say one win. To get one game would be huge. It's not going to be easy. This isn't a team that I can say like anyone can beat anyone, because I've never seen a team lose back-to-back game, like a game in back-to-back series by 20. But I do think that South Carolina could get one, and I would not be surprised if they did, especially with LSU and the end of the season. And obviously Hoover matters, but also LSU has, Omaha aspirations. And so I just think that I would not be surprised if I don't say they let up a little bit, because I don't think they'll give South Carolina a win, but if South Carolina finds a way to win at least one game.
Fair enough. All right, last one before we let you go. Jason Tatum out with the torn Achilles last night. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, both have nights. I think last night was an emotional win, right? Like a let's go get one for Jay Tate kind of win. You got any confidence Boston can go snag one more in Game 6 and at least give themselves a chance in Game 7 at the house, or have you resigned yourself to the Knicks moving on?
I honestly truly do have confidence, and I know that this is going to sound maybe annoying, but it's frustrating to see, because I do genuinely think that the Celtics are the better team. And like, my dad grew up a Knicks fan. My family, they watched the Knicks like all year. Like, nothing against the Knicks. I think they're an incredible team. I think Jalen Brunson is absurd. I think they're incredibly talented. But if I'm looking at who is the better team this past season, I believe it was the Celtics. And so to have the first two losses be just dumb is annoying, because now the Celtics are in this position where I do think that they are capable of taking this to 7, even without Tatum. But I do acknowledge that a lot of what fueled last night was emotions. But at the same time, like, Derek White and Jaylen Brown are great. Like, Luke Cornett is great. I didn't mind Cornett playing over Porzingis. Like, I think a lot went right. Obviously, a lot was for Jason Tatum, and every time I think about his injury, I shed a tear.
It's fair. As a Boston fan, I would too. Lulu Kessin, by the way, describing the first two losses as, quote, dumb, end quote, was my favorite thing of the day. Lulu Kessin covers the Gamecocks for the Greenville News, joins us every Thursday at 8 a.m. Lulu, we appreciate it. Enjoy the baseball weekend at least as much as you can. Good luck in 6 and 7. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Well, luckily actually be at softball for the regional.
That's
so
right.
I'll luck out with not having to witness whatever happens with
We may
baseball.
we will probably talk about softball next Thursday. That's going to be my guess. Lulu, we appreciate it. Talk to you next week.
Have a good weekend.
You
Thanks,
too.
guys.
Lulu Kessin for the Greenville News. Follow her on X at Lulu Kessin, Kessin. Back after this, Rashad Beard at 8:40, Mario at 9, Fight Club at 9:20. The Rob Brown Show now on the Fan Upstate.
You see.
All right, guys, quick live coming right back. Stay right there, please, and thank you. Somebody on the text line a few minutes ago called me a, quote, college football Marxist, end quote. First off, in the 5 years I've been doing this, it is maybe just to me, that's the funniest text anybody has called me a name in. Liberob the Woke Warrior came from the text line. Absolutely hilarious. Hot Rod Brown came from the text line. That's objectively hilarious. But Rob, you college football Marxist, has got to be the funniest thing I have been called. If you missed why.
Is it inaccurate?
I mean, yes, but
So you hesitated.
well, it's because when we talk about stuff like this, I have to decide how far off the philosophical deep end I have to want to be able to go or can go or am allowed to go. And the answer is no, because there are some nuances to the concept of Marxism that I am even in the landscape of college football, where I would say I am fine declaring myself a college football socialist without a doubt. I'd say socialist, sure. Socialism and Marxism, different concepts.
You've already kind of clarified that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, without saying it. So
I am
that's fine.
happy to allow you to call me a college football socialist. And the reason for that is because I believe that college football as a product is what sells billions of dollars every year. And therefore, I believe that every person participating in the system should have, if not, and this is where I would say I kind of swerve from socialism a little bit into like my own form of philosophy on this. Everyone should have the same opportunity to be rewarded for excellence, right? Not just get the same thing. There is a baseline for what everybody gets, and that's not going to be the same from everybody to everybody, because at the end of the day, those who have eyeballs are just going to inherently get more. And I'm fine with that. But I believe that when it comes to consistent performance and excellence, that everybody should have the same opportunity to get there. Everybody should have the same opportunity to be rewarded for excellence. And under a 16-team playoff where two conferences get 4 automatic bids, 2 conferences get 2 automatic bids, and everybody else gets to fight for 2 spots. Not everybody has the same opportunity to be compensated for excellence. Not everybody has the same opportunity to be compensated for their success is, right? Like, I think that, and this is sports. This isn't life. This isn't getting up and going to your job. This isn't being a productive member of society. This isn't adding anything to the value of, it's football. It is something that is meant to be a break from all of that. But as we talked about with the NBA draft lottery earlier this week, when it gets to a point that it feels as if your team does not have the same opportunity for excellence as everybody else, that's when we check out. The NFL, there are 8 divisions. There are 4 teams in each division, and every team, to the point of even scheduling for the conferences are set up. The schedule is set up so that, for the most part, the divisional opponents of every team are the same. There are 2 games on your schedule that are different from the other teams in your division. And those are weighted based on your success and your failure in the last year, right?
Your comrades are coming to your aid.
Yeah, no, I know. Because I'm right. So when the NFL season starts, even if my team stinks, and they do, at the beginning of the year, week 1, in September, when the NFL season kicks off, the Saints, Panthers, Bucks, and Falcons all have the exact same opportunity to make the playoffs. All 16 teams in the NFC have the exact same opportunity. And even if you're in a division that is stacked, right? The NFC North. That's a good division. Detroit's going to be good. Minnesota's going to be good. Green Bay's going to be good. And maybe Chicago's going to be good. That is a division with 4 teams that can make the playoffs. Even if only one can win the division, there is the out of being a wild card. That is something that all 16 teams in the conference share.
There's also a salary cap. There's regulation. There are things that college football doesn't have, so that makes it different.
Yes.
Yet.
No, wait.
But
I'm not-
it's going to be the
I'm
same
not.
soon, and
I
then,
am not.
then your argument won't matter anymore.
No.
Once it becomes a complete pro thing.
You are hearing an argument I'm not making. I'm not making an argument for the system's the same and it should be the argument that I'm making.
Yeah, but you are making a comparison
No, I'm not.
to something that's different in a way.
Let me start over. The reason we are all excited week 1 is because everyone in the NFL has the exact same opportunity and the same resources to work with. Now, your owner, your general manager, your head coach, they may be dumbasses and not spend those resources wisely, but you have the same resources. It does not feel that way in college football anymore. The resources are not the same, and they never have been.
I don't care if you have the same resources. If you are a Wake Forest fan, and I'm sure there are those out there, you don't wake up going, season started, we're winning the championship this year. And then you remember you're Wake Forest. No, you're not.
No, but you know what I do wake up thinking if I'm Wake Forest? If all things are equal, all I got to do is win the ACC one time.
Mm-hmm.
All I got to do is win the ACC.
When's the last time they did that?
It does. You're not. This isn't about what has happened. You just said the system changing and then all these arguments go away. This isn't about what has been. This is about what will be. And in the way that it will be, all Wake Forest has got to do is win the ACC one time. However, even if they do that, they will still not make as much money as Iowa State is going to make next year, just because of who they are and where they are.
They would if. Tag on it, man. I'm just killing it on Thursday. They will if they win the championship.
Correct.
They're going to win a bunch of money. So all they need to do is get in. Quit whining about only 2 teams get in and all this stuff. Just get in and win your games, and then it doesn't matter about all this other stuff.
Correct. And for the 4th best team in the Big Ten, that's a free ticket. And for Wake Forest, their only option is to be in the top 2.
By the way, yeah, because they're not going to be, because they're at least the 3rd or 4th team every single year.
And they make less money. So even if they do the thing you're saying, all you got to do is, even if they do that thing, they still will not make the money Iowa State makes just for being there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I am a college football socialist. UNC Chris says, Rob Brown's college football philosophy will now be known as buddyism. I'm here for it, Chris. Well done. The college football economic philosophy of buddyism has been birthed. Rashad Beard talks Panthers schedule when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
You don't have to rub a belly or anything, because I think, don't you have to do that in Buddhism? You have to rub the belly.
All right, guys, stepping away while we get Rashad Beard lined up. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Efforting Rashad Beard. Efforting, by the way, I think is a word only used in radio.
I believe so.
I don't think
Yes.
anybody else uses the word efforting. And it's just one of those things that we all say it because we heard somebody else say it and then it sticks.
Yes, and a whole lot of panicking behind efforting. It's like, I don't know why.
Yeah, if you ever hear a host say we are efforting, it means that I planned on a guest being here and they're not here, and now I got to come up with something else.
Or I forgot to call someone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're efforting it.
Efforting Rashad Beard. Also, efforting, because I've been asked a couple of times, efforting a guest from the WWE roster for Monday, when Monday Night Raw is in town. Did get an email back yesterday saying that they are putting the schedule together for their media tour on Monday, but that it has not been finalized yet. We are obviously, as the only show in the upstate that is adept at talking about wrestling, which we will do in 40 minutes at 924 Fight Club, that we are at the top of the list, but behind the TV stations.
Who's your dream guest? That's on the Raw roster.
Rhea Ripley.
All right, realistic dream guest.
Realistically.
Wow, I see what you did. That was. I mean, on the fly. Way to go.
On the Raw roster, who's the dream guest? I would love to have El Grande Americano come through. You know, talk about his storied history in luchador wrestling.
This is the problem. We probably would need a translator for that because I don't.
That's true. I don't know. Yeah, we haven't really heard him speak
Yeah, we haven't
all
heard
that
him.
much.
I'm guessing he speaks Spanish,
Yeah.
but I don't know.
I would be interested in seeing what he had to say. Alexa Bliss.
She's on SmackDown though.
Oh yeah, she is, isn't she?
She is.
I forgot. That's where the Wyatt Six is.
Allegedly, yeah.
Allegedly. AJ Styles would be dope.
Yeah, for sure. And he's from this area.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
AJ Styles would be dope. By the way, El Grande Americano is officially on the WWE's roster.
Of course he is.
Why
As
wouldn't
he
he
should be.
Why wouldn't he be?
You know,
Yeah. Finn Balor would be high on the list.
we need Dom. I mean,
Dom would be
obviously.
high on the list,
Yeah.
just so I could ask him about CM Punk and see how that goes. Ray would be on the list. Sami Zayn would be dope. Rusev, Stephanie Bakir. Top of the list.
But she's technically.
I've seen some of her
NXT.
interviews. She's actually hilarious.
Yeah. Oh no.
And
no.
on top of that, she usually lets the guest wear the devil horns,
Wow.
and I would, in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we already seen them today, so it's not like it won't be.
Those were
anything
metaphorical.
weird. Okay. All right.
All right, we waiting on Rashad Beard. May have to push him till next week. Did not get an update before, but at the same time, Rashad's also on call with his real job. So let us do what we would have done anyway, and that is look at the Panthers' schedule as it was dropped last night. And let's pick out some games or some stretches that we are most interested in. The first two games right out of the gate. Now, I would have said the first game anyway because obviously set the tone in week number 1. I think that's a pretty lazy thing because that's true for every team in the National Football League, but I do think it is especially important for the Carolina Panthers. And not just because you want to set the tone for the season in weeks 1 and 2, but also because of who you have the opportunity to set the tone against. You are on the road at Jacksonville in week number 1. You are on the road at Arizona in week number 2. That Jacksonville game, I actually think, is massively important. And I think it is important because it is not just a barometer of what the team looks like after the offseason and after putting together the draft class, after Dave Canales gets a full offseason with Bryce Young and his offense, et cetera, et cetera. I also think it is a barometer to gauge yourself, where do you stand amongst the other optimistic teams in the league? Because Jacksonville is on that list.
See, I think the true thing that we're waiting to see is, what does this defense look like? I mean, the offense looks like it's shaping up to be a decent offense if Bryce Young continues to improve with the new weapons that he has. But what's the defense look like?
I think that is probably a question that will be asked throughout the course of the season. I think that you will get a good grab because the common thought in the NFL is most of, not all, but most of your offenses need a week or two of full speed regular season play to develop to where they're going to be. Very few offenses come out high flying in week
Especially
one.
early on and with less preseason. So you're getting less real time against other teams unless you are lucky enough to practice against another team and there not be a ton of fights and the practice get canceled. It takes a while for offenses to develop because they haven't all been on the field together enough.
Correct. It's timing, it's chemistry, it's timing up the quarterback with the route running, it's learning where your wide receivers are best and worst at breaking off and
Finding
what routes
out
they
if your
sell
offensive
at.
line can actually block.
Exactly right. All of these things will, for most teams, take a couple of weeks to get going, which means in the first couple of weeks of the season, defenses have to carry the load. And they get the advantage of, usually, not always, usually, you are playing an offense that is not up to its full potential yet, which means defenses have to carry the load. This is a spot where a revamped and healthy Carolina defense can make a massive difference. You are up in week one against TL16, Trevor Lawrence. I have already gone on the record a few times and said, to me, this feels like it is the make or break year, at least in Jacksonville, for Trevor Lawrence. Even if it doesn't work out and they move on from TL16, somebody's going to pick that guy up, see if they can get a Baker Mayfield out of him, right? Let's see if we can get a second year where you go, okay, it was the franchise, not the quarterback, but this is the make or break year for TL16. I think he knows that. I think this is the year that Trevor Lawrence is going to go, I just got to be me and play my style of ball. And they went out and got him probably the most dangerous weapon in this draft, at least from the college ranks, in Travis Hunter to put on the outside. And it's not a bad staff. It's not a bad defensive line or offensive line, not a bad staff of guys around that. So this game is one that will need to likely be carried by the defense because the offense may take a little time, especially when you consider that the most important addition to this roster is wide receiver. There is a rookie wide receiver that is going to be probably running the X for this Carolina Panther team. It may take Teteroa McMillan and Bryce Young a couple of weeks of timing, of chemistry, of getting it all together before they really develop into whatever they're going to come into. So I do think that this game is important. Set the tone on the defensive side of the ball against an offense. And by the way, Liam Cohen, head coach of the Jaguars, comes over. He was the OC, replaced Dave Canales when Canales went to Carolina last year and had success. Everybody in Tampa loved him. In fact, the drama when Liam Cohen apparently ghosted Todd Bowles and said, I'll be back, and then ghosted him, and then they just found out that he had been talking to and accepted a job from Jacksonville. Tampa was kind of bummed out by that. Not just the behavior, which, sure, I will acknowledge was probably a little unprofessional on Liam Cohen's spot, but they were actually excited about Liam Cohen coming back as OC. They liked what they got out of that Buccaneers offense. That won the division that last year. So you got a young guy as a brand new HC who is going to be trying to prove that they made the right decision, working with a quarterback who is trying to prove that they made the right decision, working with a weapon of a wide receiver in Travis Hunter. I know everybody's talked about the size and how, going up in that backfield against real defensive backs is going to be a change for Travis Hunter. Maybe it is. We'll find out. But the dude can still fly. And as the old adage goes, can't hit what you can't catch, right? So that's big. And then there's Arizona. Then there's Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, a team that the last 2 years have felt is nowhere near where they should be. This is a team that lost a bunch of talent. This is a team that has had some issues with the head coaching spot. But this year, they bring over James Conner. He can play. They got Trey Benson behind him, young man out of Florida State. I'm telling you, that kid's got wheels if they can get him out there. This is the year that Marvin Harrison Jr. needs to prove that last year was a bit of a misnomer. That's not really who I am. They need some help at the wide receiver spot. Michael Wilson, Greg Dortch is their 2 and 3. Not exactly it, but they got Trey McBride at tight end. That's not it's not a good, but it's not a bad Cardinals team. These two games are both very winnable for the Carolina Panthers. So opening 2-0, especially considering you have got an opportunity to gain a divisional lead on Tampa and Atlanta, who both have more difficult games to open the season, one of them against each other. You've got a chance in 2 weeks to gain first place possession of the NFC South sole. And then you're playing out ahead of everybody, right? And you don't face Tampa until week 16 and 18. So you got plenty of time to build up take a 2-game lead into those final 2 weeks, and you got yourself a really solid position. So that's an interesting spot. September 21st versus Atlanta, first time in division. That's week 3. You should have your offense clicking by that point. Now it's a matter of, can BY and Ted McMillan and the rest of those wide receivers who are now all playing in their natural position. Xavier Legette playing the secondary, the Y. Adam Thielen playing the slot full-time. Can your wide receiver core and Bryce Young, along with your run game, can they outpace Michael Penix Jr., who did play last year for Atlanta, but this will be his first run as being QB1 officially and without question. Can your running back trio outpace Bijan Robinson, who is a weapon, is a stud? That's a big game. You could be 3-0 with the divisional win in hand after 3 weeks. Then you got the Patriots, winnable game. Then you got the Dolphins. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I got no damn idea what the Miami Dolphins are going to be last year. Last year was a disappointment. Last year, Dolphins fans, of which I am very close to a few of them, went from Mike McDaniel is the future of head coaching in the NFL to, did we screw up? Is he really the guy, or was that just a flash in the pan? May have been. I don't know what to make of Miami. Then you're back home against Dallas, on the road at the Jets, back home for the Bills, on the road at the Packers, back home for the Saints. Home away, home away, home away, home. Those 5 games, I think, are the season right there. Those 5 games of the season. If you go 0-5, 1-4, maybe you beat New Orleans, but you drop the Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets, and Bills. If you go 3-2 in that 5, I'll call this shot now. If the team opens, let's say, 2-1, right, between Jacksonville, Arizona, and Atlanta. If they open 2-1, and then they go 3-2 in the next 5, they will win the division. That's where the division, to me, is won and lost in the first 10 weeks of the season. If they go 2-1 and then they go 3-2, they win this division. Because the back half, you've got the Saints at home, on the road at Atlanta. Then you've got the 49ers in Monday Night Football. I think the 49ers are not going to be, I don't think they're going to be good this year. I think with the loss of Debo, everybody else can be more focused on. I think that's going to be a bad team. I think that Monday Night Football game is winnable for Carolina. You got the Rams. Respectfully, I don't think that's a winnable game. I think the Rams are going to be a contender this year. You're at the Saints. That team stinks. Then, if you go 2-1 and then 3-2, and then you get 2 of those next 3, which is all possible if we're breaking this into chunks of the schedule. Saints, Bucks, Seahawks, Bucks. You might be in a spot where a split with Tampa Bay is good enough to win the division, because they've got a tougher schedule and they've got more bumps in the road than you do. I think it is very possible. 2-0 against the Saints, no worse than a split against Atlanta. I think it is very probable that this year concludes with the Carolina Panthers in the final 3 weeks of the season needing to just go 1-1 with Tampa to claim the division. All you got to do is not go 0-2 and give them the tiebreaker. I think that's a realistic possibility. All right, we'll see if we can get Rashad lined up for either tomorrow or next week, get his thoughts on all of this when we come back. Hating ass Mario Herron of the BetMGM Network joins us. We'll check in with Mario on the NBA playoffs. He is my NBA go-to dude. I know he's going to be jacked about the Pacers eliminating the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll check in on that, see if he thinks Boston can win Game 6 and at least force a Game 7, giving themselves a chance. If the Nuggets might be able to fight back against the Thunder after dropping a road game they should have had won, but the team went 1 for 12 in the fourth quarter outside of Nikola Jokic. We'll talk about Nikola Jokic. Nikola
Jokic.
Ugh. We'll talk to Mario when we come back. 9:20. Fight Club with the great Malonzo in the final segment. Whatever you want to get to. Coming up on the Rob Brown Show. All of that after a World Heavyweight Championship performance? Sports Flash.
Let's Nicolo, yo, go.
Okay. All right.
The 500
We get it.
record for the Atlanta Braves lasted just one day as the Braves blew a late lead and dropped a 5-4 game against Washington. The Braves are 21-22 with one more against the Nationals before a 3-game set at Fenway over the weekend. Even without Jason Tatum, the Boston Celtics have extended the series with a 127-102 win over the New York Knicks at home. Derek White scored 34 and Jaylen Brown had 26, while Peyton Pritchard added 27 off the bench. The Knicks lead the series 3-2 with Game 6 tomorrow. Minnesota Timberwolves eliminated the Golden State Warriors with a 121-110 victory last night. Listen, I got to laugh every time just because it makes me happy. Julius Randle had 29 with 8 boards, and Anthony Edwards added 22 with a dozen assists. Hour number 4 of the Rob Brown Show is next, right here on the Fan Upstate. Yeah, overdid it just a little. I know, James. It brings me quite a bit of joy. Math is so hard sometimes.
That's why I try not to do it. What up, Mario?
Good morning. Good.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic. How are you guys?
We're just dandy.
Standy.
Yeah, I think that would have to describe us for sure, dandy.
How was your vacation, Lonzo?
It wasn't a vacation.
Oh,
were
he was
you
almost
sick?
dead.
Yeah, I was sick. Yeah.
Oh, I'm
thanks,
sorry.
It's all right. I mean, for OSHA, Rob was unable to disclose the fact that I was ill. No, I was pretty sick.
Damn.
And I have to be really, really sick to miss work because I just don't do that. So,
Did you get flu or is it pneumonia? or
well,
something?
according to the doctor, it's bronchitis, but it was pretty bad. So,
Damn.
But I don't know. I don't want to argue with diagnosis because I get this every year, this time of year.
You need to stop smoking,
Oh,
Lonzo.
really?
Yeah, stop it, because I don't do that. I have a really large head, and when the snot starts draining in a really large head, it messes you up everywhere. That's just how that
Yeah.
works. Yeah, you guys don't know. You can say yeah, but you don't know. Pain is real, man.
Just listen. Yeah. I had heartburn, dude. I've been getting heartburn more. Oh my gosh, man.
Buddy, I got bad news for you.
Buddy.
It only gets worse. Here we go, the final hour of the show, the Rob Brown Show here on the Fan Upstate. Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, and joining us now on our live stream, available at facebook.com/the Fan Upstate, the Fan Upstate on YouTube, the Fan Upstate on Twitter, and the Rob Brown Show on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitch. He is the executive producer of BetMGM Tonight, which you can hear on this and find Odyssey stations everywhere every weekday night from 7 until 11 p.m. with Brad Evans, Ryan Horvat, and tomorrow, me again, because why not? I got nothing better. It's Friday night. What am I going to do?
Because you can't say no. Say no
Listen,
sometime.
why would I say no to the opportunity to work with Ryan Horvat and hating ass Mario? Mario Herron here from the BetMGM Network in the midst of the NBA playoffs. Sup, dog?
What is going on, guys? How's life? Did you enjoy the schedule release? Have you enjoyed the playoffs? What's WWE? What's going on there? Used to be WWF. Just learned that. Actually, I somehow missed that in the doc that I watched, but I wrote that down to bring up to you today.
We got the hook is in. Mario doesn't know what the hook's in. Last Friday, he was telling me and Horvey that he was watching documentaries about wrestling from back in the day. That's the first sign of the addiction. It's coming, Mario. We're getting you there.
I'm a big documentary guy. I watch them all. I just watched the Liver King one where he doesn't apologize for what he's done. Which is
You
very
mean
funny.
being an open and bold-faced liar? That one?
Yeah.
That
He
guy?
just doesn't. It's a great doc of just, he's doing the exact same thing he's always done. And at the end, he's like, I think I should eat some vegetables. And that's pretty much it.
Mario is here because the NBA playoffs are ongoing. And I think I would be remiss, Mario, not to give you just a minute to talk about your Pacers team, because I got to tell you, I wanted to root against the Pacers only to antagonize you specifically and only you. And now, after this past series, I find it impossible to root against this team.
By the way, I've been looking for some Let's Go Sirs audio. I can't find it anywhere. So maybe if you could find that, you could send it to me and I'll just play it over. and
No,
over
the only
again.
place you can get it is from Mario.
They made a t-shirt. They did make a t-shirt that says, Let's go, sirs. Just saying. My mom has it. She was at the game. But let me just take a little victory lap. Thank you. Very much appreciated. Me and Ryan Horvat on BetMGM Tonight said about a month ago, we're talking about the Eastern Conference and how everyone was like, it's Cleveland, it's Boston, and that's it. We were like, a dark horse is Indiana. Because last year they did it. They've made a run. Then they got hurt. Couldn't do it. Their defense was a big issue. This year, the defense is vastly improved. Miles Turner stepped up in very big ways. Tyrese Halliburton's called the most overrated player by other NBA players.
And I took that personally.
And he took that personally. And then half of the NBA also didn't even vote in that. They usually skip that area because they don't want to be mean to people. So it's probably just a bunch of guys on the Bucks and the Knicks that just really can't stand the Pacers. Now, people are waking up to the fact that basketball was born in Massachusetts, but it was raised in Indiana. And people are waking up to that right now. And let me tell you this, the difference between last year's team and this year's team that I really, really like is there's more of an attitude with this Pacers squad. There's more of a chip on the shoulder of, hey, not only are we going to beat you and, push the ball up the floor and just keep it running and keep it going. And anytime we're down, we're going to be right back up in about 2 minutes. At the end of every possession, we're going to bump you a little bit. When you go to the rim, you're going to get hit. When you come to the paint, you're going to get hit. And I love that attitude. I love that mentality, especially for a small market team. I think it's kind of essential to have. I'm excited. I think they can take out the Knicks. I think they can take out the Celtics. And Knicks, you guys all we're celebrating like the series is already over. And then Derek White and Luke Cornett. Where were you for the Luke Cornett game? I know where I was. They all had something to say about that. But I think they match up pretty well against both squads. And people need to start realizing how good of a coach Rick Carlisle is, because this is 2 years in a row of a team that's gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you ask the regular NBA person, go, all right, name me 3 Pacer players, can they? Because I guarantee they name Tyrese Halliburton and then maybe Miles Turner, and then it's a big pause.
I don't think any of that is unfair. I think what I appreciate about this team is all the things that I said I appreciated about Boston, and had a bet out on Boston to repeat. And maybe they do with Jason Tatum. Maybe they don't. Doesn't matter. They may still win this series. I don't think they can go 7 with Indiana. If they do, it doesn't really matter. But the reason I like Boston was the adaptability and the clutch factor, right? Like we saw it out of Brown and Derek White a few times last year, where in close games, these guys were just able to get it done, which is why the 2 losses at home were both, as our guest Lulu Kesson called them earlier, and I quote, dumb, end quote, was because of the fact that those were very winnable in the clutch for Boston, and Jay Tate just kind of lost his mind and his composure in those spots. Indiana's a team that has both of those things. They're versatile. If Halliburton's having a night, they know how to run the offense to get it to him. If he's not, they're going to find the guy who is and use Halliburton as the go-through guy instead of the go-to guy, A. But B, this team's clutch. Like every close game they have been in, including with Cleveland, Halliburton or somebody came up with big shots down the stretch. Everything and you're right, Rick Carlisle is arguably one of the best coaches in the NBA who's never named in that group right now. I agree. As much as I want to give you hell because it's fun, I agree with everything that you are saying right now. And as far as I'm concerned, those 3 things are the 3 metrics. That plus a big man are the things I'm looking for an NBA champion pick.
And something that kind of the Pacers have, I think, similar with like the Oklahoma City Thunder, is the guys, they don't care if they're the star that night or if they're not. You know, like they all just want to pitch in to win a game. There's no egos involved. It's just let's come together, let's accomplish something, and let's win. And that's something the Pacers have done throughout the playoffs. And that's something the Thunder have done throughout the season, and now they run against the best player in the world, and they're trying to figure that out. But that's another part of this that's just awesome to see. It's late in the game. Hey, Nebart's hitting shots. Let's set him up. Naismith's hitting threes. Let's set him up. Tyrese is cooking. Let's get him going through him. And I don't know if there's a better guard in the NBA right now at finding passing lanes than Tyrese Halliburton. When he drives and the defense collapses, on TV, it's like, where is the gap to throw a pass to find someone open? Tyrese finds it every single time. And that's extremely hard to guard. And it's extremely hard to slow down. They are one of the most complete teams in the NBA, and their supporting cast is phenomenal. They play together. I can't wait, man. And you gave me a lot of crap for it last year, and I understand it, but I'll say it again. Playing in Indiana is very, very hard.
For the record, I didn't give you crap for saying playing in Indiana is hard. I gave you crap for saying Indianapolis is the best sports city in
host
America.
City. I said host city. Best
Doesn't
host
matter.
city.
Oh, still not that.
But my point stands. It's you go to Indianapolis, basketball is God. And when you play there and people say, oh, the Garden's hard. Oh, you can't win in the Garden. Go to Indy. It's very hard to win there. And every team has struggled.
That's how they say it.
That's how I've always heard them say.
That's how they say it.
You know what I want to make, by the way, what I'm working on is, so my parents have gone to every single game, and I'm working on a graphic where it's like Timothy Charlemagne and Spike Lee, and then it's like versus my parents. And Knicks win.
I'm here for it. All right, let's talk about that other series in the East. No Jason Tatum. I said this on your show on Tuesday. I was taking Boston. I was taking a Boston money line bet, which was plus money. It was like minus 115, I think, last night, because it felt like a win-one for the Gipper game, right? Like super emotional.
Yeah.
Let's go get this done for Jason Tatum. But to be able to do it back-to-back games, even if you end up going 7 all the way back to Beantown, I like Derek White. I like Jaylen Brown a lot, but both of those guys' games work when Jason Tatum is the primary focus. I don't know how long it can work without him. The Knicks have now seen what the offense looks like when those two guys are option one and option two. I don't think there's a way Boston finishes this series. I think the Knicks are winning it and taking on the Pacers in round two.
You know, you mentioned earlier the clutch situations that Boston had last year. They clearly don't have that this year, right? Any close game, it's going New York's way. The way Boston gets back in this series is 10-point, 15-point, 20-point wins. That's the way they have to do it. If it's a close game coming down the stretch, Jalen Brunson is just light years ahead of everyone on the Boston Celtics, and we've seen that over and over again. The night last night, you kind of nailed it on the head. It was just a bad spot for New York and a great spot for Boston. You had everyone against you. You didn't have Tatum. Everyone's talking crap about you. You finally sit KP, which he's just such a liability on the floor, offensively and defensively. I think in the first 5 minutes of the game last night, he already had 2 turnovers. He's just not good on the floor. Luke Kornet gives you the best game of his life. Can he do that again? I think Peyton Pritchard he's 6th man of the year. He can give you great minutes no matter what, but he played close to 40 minutes last night. That's asking a lot of him. The Celtics finally shot great with at 3-point. They shot 44.9%. So can you do that again in New York? And can you get it a double-digit lead? Because as soon as it's single-digit, man, I really don't trust Boston. And that's why I think New York still wins it. I think they close it out in 6. If it goes 7, I'm kind of with you. I still think it is Knicks. They're just clearly the better team. And it's just, if it goes 7, they're playing with their food. And they're not paying attention. And more, Payne Pritchard probably has close to 25 points. Derek White has to have 30. Brown has to have a double-double. People think Brown has to have these 30-point games. I kind of disagree. I think what Brown has to do is what he did last night, where he scores in the 20 range, but then those assist numbers, those rebound numbers have to be up. Because without Tatum, he's their leading rebounder. Luke Kornet picked up in that slot last night. What Jaylen Brown picked up in was dishing the ball out and setting other people up. He has to do that again. He can't just be a scorer. He has to be a complete playmaker for this team to be successful and to get these wins against a very stacked New York squad. I would love to sit here and tell you that a New York failure is coming and that Tom Thibodeau is going to fart down his leg or piss down his leg again, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be New York, and it's going to be New York versus Hicks versus the Knicks.
Feels
in these conference finals.
I only sigh because I like that. I hate that I like that. All right, let's flip over to the Western Conference here for just a couple of minutes. The Denver Nuggets had an opportunity, every reason to take down the Thunder in Game 5, and then in the fourth quarter, they figured out a way to crap the bed. Nikola Jokic, the only guy scoring points in the fourth quarter. I think the Nuggets went something like, I think it was everybody not named Jokic went 1 for 12, and that one was a layup when the game was already over. So realistically, they went 0 for 11 down the stretch. It ended up allowing the Thunder to come back and take that game and a 3-2 lead. Game 6 back in Denver. I'm taking Denver to extend this thing to 7. My only question is, it's not even a question, it's a statement. I think we now know for a fact that the biggest concern we had about Denver, which is they just don't have the bench. And as fast-paced as you've got to play to get up and down the court with the Thunder, you've got to have guys coming off the bench you can trust for 14, 15, 16 minutes a night, and they don't have that right now. Nikola Jokic, why do I do that again? Nikola Jokic is the best player on planet Earth. I agree. But he's just one dude. And if everybody else is going to go 0 for 11 with a game on the line, I don't think it matters. The Thunder are moving on.
You mentioned the supporting cast. Russell Westbrook can't have 4 points in 20 minutes. Christian Brown can't have 8 points in 43 minutes. Michael Porter Jr. can't have 2 points. Those guys can't do that. Especially on the other side, you have Lou Dort, who makes 3 straight threes to start the fourth quarter, with the MVP over there just waiting to get going, and he does. He finds his spots, he gets open, and he hits his shots. The Nuggets in that game, they were in control, but you could even see it late in the third. Thunder cut it a little bit, and Nuggets went to a 2-3 zone. And in a 2-3 zone, it's to slow down the opposing team and to, really protect the paint. But it's also for you to get your guys to save energy because you don't move a lot in 2-3 zone. You just got to guard an area, right? And man to man, you got to follow someone the whole time, keep track of what's going on, and help the helper. In 2-3, it's just passing someone on to the next guy, and you can kind of rest a little bit. Well, as soon as the Thunder started figuring that zone out and started kind of carving up that zone, what were the Nuggets going to do? And then on the other side of the floor, Jokic's game, he's the best player in the world, and he can score anytime he wants. But a lot of what he does is setting people up. And if he's getting doubled or hell even tripled, and he makes an amazing pass only like him and Jesus Christ himself can make, and you can't hit the shot where no one's even around you, that's a problem. You're not going to win a basketball game, especially when you have on the other side of the floor around 2 to 3 guys that can hit shots. And on top of that, when you're the Thunder, a guy that's going at Jokic for a double, that could be Alex Caruso, which is a top defender in the league. That could be Lou Dort, another great defender. Jalen Williams, great defender. SGA, top 3 in steals in the NBA. And if it's not a guard, it's Chet. So it's 7 foot against Jokic. Jokic is fantastic, but that's a tough matchup. I actually think different. I think Thunder close it out tonight. I think they win it. I think it's series over. And get ready for the newspapers to say it. It's the mark of a new era. It's Anthony Edwards versus SGA for the first time in the Western Conference Finals. LeBron, Steph, Durant, thank you so much for everything you've done. But the new era is here, and that's Ant and SGA, and they're going to run the West.
All right, last one before we let you go. I said this earlier in the show. I'll bring it up to you now. That feeling you get when you have a hero and you meet him in person and they suck, right? Like you meet your favorite athlete or your favorite actor or your favorite musician or whatever, and you get the chance to shake a hand and take a picture, and it turns out that they suck as a person, and that you get that kind of like, oh, that sucks feeling. I'm having that feeling with Jimmy Butler right now. Because, the playoff Jimmy thing, I was all in on. My phrase for a while now has been there was no Heat culture. There was Jimmy Butler culture, and the Heat benefited from that. I was all in. He had a chance the last 2 games without Steph Curry to make himself a Warriors legend, to earn himself a buttload of money to stay there and keep doing what he did. And for whatever reason, playoff Jimmy disappeared, like 17 points or less in the last 3 games running. No Steph. He's not taking shots. He's attacking to the free throw line, but then just stopping for no reason. I don't think anybody is going to be dinged up more from this postseason team-wise than Jimmy Butler.
A text I got last night that I think sums this up the best is Warriors are going to be really sad when Steph is done. And I was like, yeah, they are. They're going to be really sad. I didn't understand Jimmy Butler's mentality through this whole series. Mike Conley was the obvious weak man on the floor for the Wolves defensively. And it was, you kind of set a screen until you get him. And Jimmy Butler gets situations where he has him. And you go, all right, now it's time to work. Now it's time to go. Make your move, get to the basket, score, get to your spot for a mid-range jumper. And then next thing you know, it's in Jonathan Kuminga's hands. Next thing you know, it's a pass. Then next thing you know, it's he doesn't want the ball anymore. And it's like, all right, are we doing like the Will Ferrell and, the movie where it's like, all right, I want it. It passes it back out like over and over again. I wish I could remember that movie. I'm going to say old school.
That would be Semi-Pro?
Semi-Pro. Wow. There we go. Thanks for the reference.
We'll get you there.
But no, I was really disappointed, man. It's maybe Jimmy Butler of 2 years ago could really will this together. But at the same time, Timberwolves are a very well defensive sounding team with a very solid rim protector with a lot of guys that they can throw at you that kind of disrupt you. I just think Jimmy Butler never got comfortable in this game and never really found his rhythm. And that also kind of goes back to being added to a team in the middle of the year. When you add a team to the middle of the year, you kind of are still figuring out who you are within the organization. So that hurts. I thought Warriors could make a title run with Curry healthy, but instead I just helped Vegas build another big building.
Hayden asked Mario Herron from the Bet MGM Network joins us every Thursday at 9 o'clock to talk sports, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. We'll talk schedule release next time around. We will talk conference finals next time. Mario, my man, appreciate it, buddy. I'll see you tomorrow night, pal.
See you tomorrow night in Hicks in 7, baby. I'll be at game 3.
Wait. You had the opportunity to say Hicks in 6 and you passed on it?
I don't think it's going to go 6.
Doesn't matter. It rhymes and it sounds awesome.
But You have to be truthful to the audience.
Yeah, and then he'd be wrong. So I mean,
Right,
he,
but
he
he's been
believes
a-
it's going
He
7.
spent a week
so-
saying Hickson 6, and then if it is Hickson 6, you get to Selly. If it's Hickson 6 now, it's mine, and I'm not even a fan.
You can take Hicks for 6. I would take Hicks for 7. I can't wait to be at Game 3. I'm pretty excited.
We will talk
Me and
to
Timothy
Mario.
Chalamet. I'm give him a bird. I'm gonna be like, hey man, you think you're Elise Gaib? Let's do it
no,
out.
don't correct him. Just let him keep saying it on the air forever. Just let him keep saying it forever.
What did I get wrong there? Adis
worry about it.
Khabib? I don't know how to say it. It's in Dune. But Dune's a great movie. Fantastic.
You're the best, buddy. See you tomorrow night.
Hey, Eagles is hard. See you guys.
Mario Heron from the BetMGM Network. You can hear him with Ryan Horvat and Bradley Evans every weekday night from 7 to 11 right here on this and fine stations everywhere. I will be in with Horvey tomorrow night. Mario will be next Thursday. Fight Club will be up next on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Thank you, guys. I hope you bring up in Fight Club is Illa versus Charles Oliveira.
No, but I'm going to talk about John Jones ducking.
Oh, don't get me started. I'm so pissed off about that.
I got some quotes. I don't have the audio, but I got some quotes. So
From
who?
John Jones?
from John Jones.
Yeah. Did he
Wait,
make
wait.
it obvious he's ducking?
Oh, you just wait. It's
I
next
can't wait.
segment. It's not that far away.
Yeah. He's ruining
Can't
someone
wait.
else's prime because he decides I want to be on vacation, essentially.
In fairness, so do I, but I'm not skipping work for it, you know?
Yeah. It's like, you know,
I think we all know that he's ducking. He's saying he's not ducking, but he's ducking.
he's ducking.
Oh,
And
man.
Tommy Aspinall, it looks in shape. I probably stalk him a little too much, and let me tell you, fellas, he looks good.
I want to pay the money finally to see John Jones lose.
Yeah, same.
Give that to me and then go away. Let me see
then-
you lose. No, not only lose, but lose spectacularly. Either in a submission or just get knocked plumb out.
Also, stop attacking DC. He takes every interview. He's
I
like,
know,
yeah, I
of
would have
course.
knocked out DC at heavyweight too. And it's like, sick. You beat him twice. Like, I hope so.
And made fun of him when he was crying when he had a concussion. Yeah, so don't, I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like, awesome, dude. You're a great human being.
yeah. People really like Daniel Cormier, and they should because he's awesome. He's entertaining. Yeah, leave him alone.
Yeah, he's done nothing. And it's not like Daniel Cormier is out there like John Jones isn't the greatest. He's literally like, no, he's the best fighter in the world. It was a very hard fight. John Jones is like, yeah, you're still a loser, and I could beat you at a heavier weight. He's like, sounds good. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I don't.
I can't stand him. All right. I gotta leave.
All right, buddy. See you tomorrow.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, man.
I'll see you. By the
Later.
way, I wanted to tell you this too. My dad wanted me to tell you that your show's his favorite.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that hurt my feelings. I was like, yeah. He goes, haven't listened to that Rob Brown. I was like, yeah, he's really good. And he goes, yeah, I kind of like him better than your shows. Thanks, man. I was like,
Wow.
thanks, Dad.
Do you see what you've done? No. Okay, all right. So at least he won't be negative for the last 40 minutes.
I'm big.
Yeah.
I'm big in the Heron family.
It cracked me up. He's like, you know, you should take some of that. I was like,
Tell him.
"I'm trying
Tell
to."
him I said I appreciate that, and let me know next time he's listening, and I will do the Papa Heron shout out for sure.
I don't know. All right, I'll see you, fellas.
All right, buddy.
See ya.
That's hilarious.
Congrats on the fandom.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know.
Take it where you can get it, baby.
Okay, someone redid Fellowship of the Ring and put Arnold Schwarzenegger in as Boromir.
There is a big trend.
Oh, then they have him as Frodo also.
Yeah, there's a big trend of doing the AI thing and just putting Arnold Schwarzenegger into
Wait,
random stuff.
I just realized Arnold is actually every character.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a big trend. It's like the baby thing, but it's
Well,
Arnold.
at Legolas, I couldn't tell at first.
This
but-
isn't going to help me at all. The Arnold things are way funnier than the baby things by a lot. Because they do the voice and everything. He reads the lines, but in the voice. It's
Oh, does he?
hysterical.
Okay.
It's hysterical.
Have you heard nothing Lord Elrond has said? The ring must be destroyed. And I suppose you think you're the one to do it. And if we fail, what then? What happens when Sauron takes back what is his? I will be dead before I see the ring in the hands of an elf.
It's the best.
All right.
It's so funny.
I gotta find more of those.
There's a bunch of them.
Wow.
Yeah. Tommy, what can I say? Parents love me, always have. Could never get girls to love me, but their parents did. It's also true now. My wife's parents adore me. It's the best. Drives her crazy.
All right. I mean, you know.
In an hour?
Yeah, I just, listen.
3 in an hour.
Here's what it is. You know, I'm recovering from illness. I feel a little bit better today. I think I'm good. I know I'm not all the way back, but for some reason, my mind, I think I am. And I just keep forgetting to push a button. So,
that would be the microphone on button.
Yes, it would be. It doesn't say on over here, but it turns.
It literally says on.
All right, it does say on. I need my glasses on. So anyway, it does say on. I've never actually looked at the buttons to see that it says. Well, this one says start. Okay, but anyway, that's because if you push it, it starts something. Speaking of starting something, time for the Fight Club, where I'm not as confused as I sound. Maybe I am.
I can
don't know.
confirm most of the time he's not this bad. He's
Yeah.
having a senior moment right now.
No, I'm not really. At the moment, I'm trying not to cough. All right, so I found something. Yet before we get into this, I found something, and I know we have local wrestlers listening all the time. We appreciate it. We do, and we do plan on getting out somewhere eventually. But I need to go somewhere where the chairs are extra wide. That's just me. It's just a preference.
I need to go somewhere where somebody needs a valet and a mic.
Well-
all right, any local wrestlers struggling with your promos right now?
All right,
Call us. We're your voice.
I happen to see this Pro Wrestling Turbo thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen this.
Yeah, they run shows around here a lot.
It's going to be in Fountain Inn on
Yep.
June 1st, and I'm tempted to go. It's on a Sunday at 4:00.
I saw one of their shows a year and a half ago at an outdoor brewery restaurant kind of deal downtown. It was a blast.
They're going to be at the Mill in Fountain Inn, which is like 10 minutes from where I live, which also adds into the fact that and it's on a Sunday afternoon, so I don't have to stay up too late.
Local indie wrestling is the best.
Yeah, I mean, we may. I'm saying we, but
I can be talked into it.
okay. I don't think I'm going to need too much coaxing if you don't have, one of your 37 jobs going on
There
that
is
Sunday.
that. There also is. I'm doing. Is that this Sunday?
No, June 1st.
Oh yeah, I can do that. Okay, I thought you were talking about this Sunday. I was like, because I'm going to Raw Monday, and I don't know how much. Hey, wife, I'm missing out on 2 days with you because wrestling is going to fly. But if it's that far out, yeah, I'll be there. Let's book it.
All right, let's work on that. So speaking of Monday Night Raw, here is a confirmed lineup so far. All right, Sheamus versus Grayson Waller. So you get that because you're going. I'm not.
I am
because I'm old and I don't fit in the chairs anymore. AJ Styles and Penta versus Finn Balor and JD McDonough.
Ooh, that could slap.
By the way, McDonough has put some work into his body where the head's still too big, but I think the body's starting to match it a little bit more. And maybe it's just because he's been away, but I still think it's starting to match.
Let's also point out, I know he gets a lot of help. JD McDonough is willing to go.
He's the toughest guy in wrestling right now, without a doubt. All right, Jey Uso versus Braun Breaker, non-title match. But still, you get to see the speed of Braun Breaker.
And you get to yeet all over ourselves.
You get to yeet all over
We're going to yeet all
yourself.
over the well.
And also, there are Money in the Bank qualifying matches. They haven't said
I was
who
going to
it's gonna
say,
be.
I had heard that. I didn't know if you were going to tell me that they had told us who is getting put on that list. I mean, listen, I think it's got the opportunity to be a good show. The last couple of times they've come through, we've gotten real lucky in that it has either been, I think 2 years ago, it was like, it wasn't the go home show for WrestleMania, but it was like 2 before, so we had the sign, which was dope. Last year they came through, and I think it was the week before Backlash, so you had a pretty big build up for that. This year it's the weekend after, so there's some ramifications. From what I could tell, it looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty good card.
So hopefully, if we're going to get a wrestler in here Monday or on the phone or on stream, we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, that would be kind of cool. Or, I mean, we're versatile enough that if a wrestler's in the building and just walks into the room, we got it.
Who the hell needs prep time?
I mean, we got it.
Yeah.
We can just it don't matter who it is. You walk in here, we got it. It's going to be a compelling and fun interview.
You know, you asked me earlier in the show if I could, who would it be if I could just pick anybody? And obviously the answer is Rhea Ripley. But if that's not on the card, I'll tell you who I think would be great in here. Why not have your current champ? Why not have Jey Uso?
Why not?
Right? First off, he rolls in here. I rock the Pensacola Blue Wahoos jersey. We got an instant connection. We're from the same place.
Wow.
So that's dope. And on top of that, I don't know if you've seen, or I know you have. I'm saying the royal you. I don't know if you've seen some of these pods that Jay does where they're not like radio shows. They're just like true online podcasts. The dude's hilarious. Like he has a good time.
Well, I've got a shirt on order, which is supposed to be here tomorrow, that I've been looking forward to getting, and it's I got a Fatu shirt. I had to get it. They had the red ones and then they had the black ones. I like the red one better because I have enough black T-shirts.
There are some wrestlers.
It's got the wolf on the front. It's sweet.
There are some wrestlers that I would prefer to do the interview in kayfabe, like as with their character.
Yeah.
And then there are some wrestlers that I just want to talk to them as people. Jacob Fatu, I just want to talk to as a guy because his story of how he got here is incredible. This dude was like in and out of prison, was having real problems with his life, didn't want to be a wrestler. And then he's like, one day, basically my family like told me, start doing this and get yourself out of trouble. You got kids. And now he's quickly becoming one of the biggest wrestlers on planet Earth. And you can see there was a clip not too long ago going around on social where the Boogeyman showed up backstage for a set, and Fatu got a chance to meet him, asked him to like take a video, right? Just like talk to him on a video. And when it was over, he started hopping up and down like a little kid. It was hilarious. This big ass scary Samoan dude turned into like a kid because he got to meet the Boogeyman.
Dude,
it was awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. It'd be great.
Boogeyman would definitely be cool. So I can't wait for that shirt to get in. I cannot wait for Monday. All right, let us jump to MMA really quick, and then if we have time, we'll get back into wrestling. John Jones versus Tom Aspinall. If you were watching on the stream, which you should do during breaks, we continued a conversation with Mario, who's a big MMA guy, and talked about how John Jones has been ducking Tom Aspinall. I mean, is it about money? I don't know. Here is John's quote, though. I got people in the chat calling me a duck, Jones said. Meanwhile, I'm living my absolute best life. I don't know if it's considered ducking when you're living good. I don't think it works like that. That whole thing is just ducking.
Yes, he ducks. There is an issue with, and this is part of the issue I've had with boxing. It is part of the issue I've had with MMA. It is the way that it is structured, and I understand it, but the way that it is structured, where it is about eyeballs. If you lose, especially in a position like John Jones, like he's older now, he is one of the best fighters on planet Earth, but he also, when he started, John Jones was going to be the biggest athlete of his sport. He was going to be the Tiger Woods of MMA, just the guy who like took it global, took it mainstream. And then obviously he's had a gazillion away from the octagon problems. The reality is what you and Mario both said about him. Both of y'all said, I am going to pay to watch John Jones lose.
Yes.
Well, that's fair, except for he's getting paid. And every fight he has gone through and not lost is one more card he gets paid for main event money to fight on, right? So the minute, whether it's Aspinall or somebody else, the minute that somebody puts Johnny to night, and that legacy's gone because nobody's watching him like, I want to see the most dominant fighter on planet Earth. I'm not going to say everybody, but most people are watching him get his head kicked in the low Earth orbit. The minute that happens, he's not a draw and he's not making money anymore.
All right, I completely get that, but he's holding the belt hostage. Just give out the belt and retire. Okay, if you're not going to fight, if you're going to duck, give it to someone who will fight.
The other part of this is, and this is where, to me, this is the problem where when you have, and I got a whole litany of complaints about WWE. We can do this another day. But because they're owned by the same company now. The problem you have is when the company in charge, and this almost kind of can go back to the college football conversation we had earlier. When the company in charge is 1,000% more dedicated to the bottom line than the sport that they organize, the sport suffers for it, right? I'm fine with wanting to make the money, wanting to make the dollars. That's what business is for. But you've got to want to protect the sport. If at any point in this run or not, had the UFC come to John Jones and be like, look, dude, you're fighting this guy. No matter what the litany of number ones that he's avoided, if they would have come and said, here's your options. You're fighting this guy or you're not on a card. That's it. You don't get paid. You fight this guy or you don't get paid. They could have prevented this long run from ever happening.
I don't think this has to do with the company. I think this has to do with Dana White. The bending to him. That's what I think it does.
They bend to him because he's a moneymaker. Right? They bend to him because he's a moneymaker. People are still buying fights because they want to watch him lose, and he's just not losing. At some point, Dana, TKO, Dana works for TKO. Whatever Dana's doing, it's at the whim of TKO.
I mean, if I recall, John Jones precedes TKO buying that company, and he still was taking care of him before that.
Fine. However you want to look at it, Dana, TKO, the brothers that owned it before TKO, whoever, whatever it is, whatever you want to sell it as. At any given point, if the authority in charge of UFC, whatever period you look at, would have stepped in and said, you're fighting this guy on this card, or you're not fighting or getting paid, then it would have had to have happened. But as long as they keep letting him avoid number ones, take on interim fights or take on the soup cans whenever he wants to, and he keeps getting paid because Lonzo forks over $80 to watch him lose a fight he's not going to lose, he keeps getting paid, they keep getting paid. This is the issue you bump into. When you get to a point where the governing commission of a sport, UFC, MMA, WWE, college football, the NFL, whatever, when it gets to the point that it is very clear that the integrity of the sport does not matter as long as the bottom line is being raised. And that's on us for spending the money. But when it gets to that point, then the sport kind of starts to lose its attractiveness. And I'm going to keep it a buck. To me, to some degree, UFC's in that spot.
All right. I want to add one more, throw out one more thing before we finish the segment. We've had complaints that we don't talk enough AEW. And so last night I wanted to see the main event because the main event was Samoa Joe versus Jon Moxley in a cage. I mean, that's an attraction. That's a pay-per-view match. I wanted to watch that. So I actually watched it this morning because I recorded it from last night. And the match itself was good. I don't know if there are ever Vegas odds about how quickly Moxley's going to bleed, but of course he did. So the match is good, but I have a problem with this match. How it ended, everybody coming out, all that kind of stuff. I don't have a problem with that. But there were rope breaks inside of a cage. That doesn't make sense. So that alone, there being rope breaks inside of a cage, okay, you're going to play it that way, fine. That means the cage is, you can use the cage, it's just a part of the ring, fine. But then a briefcase was stuck through the gate, and the briefcase was used in front of the referee to take Samoa Joe out, which means there's no disqualification.
Yeah, it's either no DQ or it's not.
If there's no DQ, then there should not be ring breaks. And Moxley was saved twice with a ring break. All I care about is consistency. It doesn't make sense within how we know a cage match should work. And if the briefcase was never entered in, I guess I'm okay with it. I still don't like it. But once that in front of the referee, that means no DQ. Why was he able to ring break? That's when it's not nitpicking, because if you're a wrestling fan, that's a big deal. And I don't get why they did that.
Yeah, I actually, ordinarily this is a spot where I feel like I would jump back at Lonzo and be like, oh, you're overdoing it, whatever. I actually agree with that. Like part of the, we know it's fake, stop text guy, okay? We know it's scripted. We understand that. We still like it. It's entertainment like any other TV show. But part of the suspension of belief, just like when you watch a movie, you want to suspend belief. You want to believe that this is really James Bond and he's really strapped to a table and there's really a laser working its way towards his body parts, right? Like you want to suspend belief and live in that moment. Same with us for wrestling. Well, part of that is we are watching a show that is supposed to have a competition involved in which there are rules, or there are no rules, in which case fine, but be the no rules thing. And that's not even to say they can't alter rules, right? Like there could be an alteration of rules, but like that never got called out. It never got said, well, this is legal, but that's not, or whatever. So I actually agree. Those are moments that it makes it hard for me to believe that I'm watching an actual competition and suspend my belief for 2 hours to enjoy a show.
And normally, Taz or one of those guys will cover the mistake, and they did not.
How do you cover that, right? Like, how do you cover that mistake? Now, what you
Here's
do...
what you do. You say, those rules were disclosed at the beginning of the match. We forgot to say it. Sorry, that's on us.
Yeah, just something.
Yeah.
But it's kind of one of those things that it's like, there's a reason that tropes in wrestling are tropes, and it's because there are just ways to sell. Like, whenever, how many times does a referee have to have a wrestler climb up on the outside of the rope, go over there, talk to them while the heel is kicking the other dude in the gonads? It's like, how many times? You watch the TV show, you know this is what they're doing. But if they don't do that, then you can't have that moment. You don't have that moment, which kind of is the centerpiece of a match. It goes away. So tropes are tropes for a reason, but that's a spot where it's like, guys, if you're selling to me that this is a legitimate competition, it needs to be officiated that way, and you didn't do it. I actually agree with Lonzo on this take, which is unusual.
Especially today.
Ladies and gentlemen, the final segment of the show comes up next. Rob Lonzo and you on the Fan Upstate.
The only person from that faction that I like, I've always liked Shelton Benjamin. He's a great wrestler, and he's hilarious.
Stay right there for me. We'll talk more about this tomorrow, but there's an interesting story that just went up on 3 Sports, written by Dan Morrison. Ohio Representative Tex Fisher. That's not an Ohio representative's name.
Daggum.
Tex Fisher.
Listen, people move down from Kentucky, from West Virginia, and have kids, and they still name them, stuff from, where they used to
Listen,
live.
Tex Fisher's a great name. It's just not an Ohio name. Anyway, Ohio Representative Tex Fisher has presented a bill to the state house that is designed to almost entirely end noon kickoffs for Ohio State. Outside of the rivalry game with Michigan, which is traditionally played at noon, this bill, if passed, would prevent a game from beginning before 3:30 p.m. when any state university is involved. The other way to get a noon kick banned in the state of Ohio would be if both teams are ranked in the top 10 of the AP poll. Now, this is interesting. There is a consequence for scheduling a game before 3:30 p.m. for an Ohio State college or university that is not that or an AP top 10 matchup. According to the bill, violating this law would incur a $10 million fine against the host team's conference or the television network, depending on who scheduled the game. On top of that, no state university would be allowed with the NCAA, a conference or a network that may compel a school to schedule a noon kickoff. Now, there is some trickle-down impact that comes from the bill on 3 Sports, as while the focus appears to be on Ohio State and Fox's noon kicks, there are other state schools that play FBS ball. More specifically, there are several MAC schools that would need to address those changes and would have less financial flexibility to manage a fine. This isn't going to go anywhere. It's not going to get passed.
It's dumb. I mean, you're wasting taxpayer time. Do something that might actually pass. I mean, it's just I just don't get the waste of time.
Well, it's politics. There's plenty of that.
Yeah,
goes on.
I know, but at least hide it like most people do, and try to make it look like it's some.
Well, he's not at
he's
not at the federal level yet. So.
Okay, all right. Well, yet with a name like Tex, though, he's on his way.
Tex Fisher. I've made this clear. I hate noon games for my own teams. I hate noon games.
Noon games. This is awesome. And here's the reason why it'll never pass, because of a big noon Saturday. And the Fox thing, how many times has Ohio State been on that? And it's I think it's prime time for college football. You don't. And we will always disagree with that. I think because it is that game and that big noon Saturday is becoming a thing, at least from what I can tell.
2 Big Ten people.
Well, anyway, Big Ten team that we're talking about.
It's a Big Ten bill.
Yeah, so I want to see Gus and who's the other dude that's with him all the time? Oh, the announcers. Yeah. Is it Gus Johnson?
Yeah, Gus Johnson. I forget the color guy's name.
Who's a big deal too.
Yeah.
I forget names right now. But anyway, so I want to see them every week. And I know there's a shot, because I live out of market, that I'm going to get to see Ohio State play because they're on that thing all the time.
I look, when I was in college, and as somebody who loves traveling to football games, me and friend of the show, Jack, are working on September 28th. He's a big Bills guy. September 28th, the Saints are at Buffalo, and even though we're going to lose by 50, he's from Buffalo. His family lives close to the stadium. He's like, yo, do you want to go up to Saints and Bills? And I'm like, yeah, I want to see what the Mafia is all about. I might go through a table. I might take that bump. We'll see how it goes. I like games that are played later. I like games that I can tailgate through. This is a game. This is a bill that is exclusively for people who go to games with regularity, that do not want to go to a game and tailgate for 2 hours and then go. They want to make a whole day out of it. They want to be in the tailgates. They want a parking lot. They want to go get some food and some drink beforehand. This bill is only for people who go to games with regularity. But I would also say, who are the people that go with to games with regularity, especially now as not Ohio State, but many schools are starting to shrink their stadium but increase the in-stadium experience? The people that have the money. So this is
from
a
what I
bill
could
that
tell.
is written for people who are season ticket holders who go to every game and want more tailgate time.
When people want to drink, they're going to drink, and they'll just start their tailgating before breakfast. I mean, and there are people who actually go to the stadium and never go inside. It's just about the tailgating. Happens. I've seen it happen at Clemson. I've seen it happen at other places. People just go there. They never bother going inside. They got a TV that they put outside while they're tailgating, and they just sit out there and watch the game.
Oh, I don't disagree. And I've been that guy before, right? But I would also point out that, especially for places like Columbus, Ohio, where you get a few 100,000 people descending, it's also about the bars and the restaurants that are open all around the stadium. It's also about the bookstore that can sell more merchandise for people when they are able to go longer into the day.
They're open at noon just as well as open later, and people who want to do those sort of things, they're going to do them anyway. I don't think time of day has anything to do with it. The only thing that's better at night, they think they can hide what they're doing. They can't.
No, I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it is if I am a bar and I am able to open at 10 a.m. and the kick's at 1, or I can open at 10 a.m. and the kick's at 7:30 p.m., that's just more time to get people in, get them a bunch of drinks, and get them out and turn the table over. That's really all it is.
And now, the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I concede on your knowledge about that. All right. The first thing that's texting is Superman.
New trailer dropped, yesterday or day
Yes,
before
you still
yesterday?
haven't watched it yet.
No, I have not. It came on last
Dude.
night during the NBA game.
Yeah, but you got to watch the extended. You got to watch it online.
Yeah, but I haven't seen the full one, and nor did I have the sound on at that moment because I was very engrossed in what
You actually
Florida.
get to hear him talk and her talk and everything. It's. I know you're a Superman naysayer, but I just want to say this is really good.
No, listen, I'm excited about this movie.
I am even more excited after watching the new trailer.
I am actually
And
excited.
Guy Gardner is such a punk. Oh, it's going to be so good.
I am excited about this movie because I think the story of this has been the take forever for me. Superman stories aren't about Superman, they're about us. Superman stories aren't about Superman, they're about everybody else around Superman, and he is the focal piece of all of that. And it feels like Gunn understands that. And it feels like James Gunn is putting that into the Superman movie. So I'm actually really excited about it. And the last two trailers have been great. Plus, on top of that, you give me Crypto the Superdog, I'm going to see it night one. I will say this, James Gunn, if anything bad happens to Crypto the Superdog, I will find you and I will hurt you.
Which is also why you need to watch this new promo, because you get to see Crypto do something anyway, other than what you've already seen. The next thing it's Xing is the Golden State Warriors.
Golden State eliminated last night by the Minnesota Timberwolves. No Steph Curry, no chance for the T-Wolves, or excuse me, for the Warriors. My biggest takeaway, I talked about this earlier, my biggest takeaway is that a guy that I have been in love with and hyping for a few years now, Playoff Jimmy, went from being the dude to just another dude. I'm going to take it one step further. This is peak off-season radio. I think the Warriors dynasty is done. I think it's over.
Okay, the next thing that's Xing is Doom.
As in Doctor, or as in the game?
As in the game.
Or as in the movies?
As in the game.
I got nothing on this.
New game drops today on Game Pass. It's Medieval Doom.
I did see a preview for that. I'm interested. I will say this, and this is odd for me. Never played a Doom game.
They are very hectic and frantic, and they will get your blood pressure up, and you don't want to try to play them and then go to bed.
Fair enough.
All right. The next thing that's Xing is Joe Don Baker. I took a chance that you would know who Joe Don is. You do.
Should I?
Yes, you do. He's been in James Bond. He's been in a ton of movies. He was in the original Walking Tall, but he's a background guy. When you see him, you will know who he is.
I know who he is. I just found him.
He just passed away.
Yeah. Definition of what a
Character actor.
Character actor. Yeah,
For sure.
That's
And
it.
He's been in so many things. His IMDb is pretty big.
Yeah.
All right. And finally, the last thing that's Xing is Steph Curry.
You would.
Yes,
You
and I
would.
did.
Poor Steph Curry. We'll see if they make a move. There is a conspiracy theory right now. A working theory online right now. You know, I've all been talking about Giannis Antetokounmpo ending up as a Spur. There is a working theory right now that Golden State makes a play for Giannis to pair him up with Steph and Draymond next year. I'd get rid of Draymond, to be honest with you. All right, that's it for us. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you didn't, you got Bad Taste in Radio. Come back tomorrow. We'll try it all over again and probably, not definitely, but probably do a better job on the Friday edition of the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later. Gardner's wig is so terrible. It is.
It's
but
the point. It's
that's the
supposed
point,
to be. Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
That character in the comic book has that kind of haircut.
All right, dudes and dudettes, that's it for us. We got stuff to do and places to go. Don't get that phrase backwards. You'll get in trouble. Ask me how I know. Have a lovely rest of your day. Thanks for being here. Tell your friends about us. We're trying to get rich and famous. And yes, Tommy, I will absolutely take a bump through the table just to be one of the few, the proud. I may never walk again. But hey, the price of being a legend. See you tomorrow. Bye.